Good morning, 3 minutes past 6 o'clock. It is the final day of 2025, Wednesday, December the 31st. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark's Real Sale. It's the UK's biggest used car sale, and it's on now. Check out arnoldclark.com. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me right until 10 o'clock. And of course, the story this morning, the leaders have been toppled. The visitors dominate for 75 minutes. The title has been thrown wide open. Hartlepool winning at Rochdale. Yet they're off the top of the National League. 7 straight victories. There was an Arsenal-Villa game, wasn't there?
There was an Arsenal-Villa game, you're right, Jeff, there was.
And you were there, Andy.
I was there, and I tell you, second half, Arsenal really hit the turbo button and just overwhelmed Villa in the end, second half. First half, competitive, good game. Both teams had good situations, chances. But second half, Arsenal, the power in their game was really evident in that second half. The strength they had on the bench to change things was also significant. But I just thought their second half performance was amazing. And I thought Leandro Trossard last night was the best player on the park. He's such a handy player, useful player for the Gunners.
Doesn't often get the credit I think he deserves. I
totally agree, Jeff. I thought he was exceptional last night. A constant problem for Villa. Scored a great goal, created another one. A top performance from him. They had a number of performances in the end that were very strong, very, very good. But and Villa, again, just a bit underpowered because of no Matty Cash and no Camara and no Pau Torres before the game. Just it looked when Unai Emery wanted to make a change or two, he didn't quite have the power there to maybe affect it as he would have liked. But you know what? They've had a great run, Villa, but Arsenal last night looked really powerful, really strong.
I mean, that was a statement win, wasn't it?
It was.
If ever there was one.
Yeah, it was. It was a statement win, and I think, look, we were speaking about Arsenal yesterday. Nothing from what I've seen so far this season has changed my mind in terms of I think they will win the league. I think they have got the best squad. And listen, if they were to go and do more business in January, Jeff, even for Manchester City, who you would never, ever, ever want to push to one side, not at all. Even for them, they're going to be tough to beat, tough to stop.
Pressure is bang on City now at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland unbeaten at home this season, and that's on Thursday. And City know now that effectively they need to go there and win. Look, it was a great night of Premier League football. It was a great night of National League football for some as well.
Yes.
It was a great night of Premier League football. Let's remind you how it all sounded live on talkSPORT last night.
Burnley 1, Newcastle 3. It was Bruno Guimaraes with his 6th goal of the season. It came from a blunder from Dubravka, though.
Nottingham Forest 0, Everton 2. Tierno Barry's 1st goal of the season.
West Ham 2, Brighton 2. West Ham twice led through Jarrod Bowen. West Ham 4 points from safety. Go to Wolves on Saturday.
Goal for Bournemouth. They take it back to 2-2. I think it's Cliver who's touched it in at the far post.
Back in from Krejci, and it's 1-1. They deserve it. Wolves level. Boos emanate around Old Trafford.
You know what? It's turning into one of those classic talkSPORT nights.
Jesus edge of the air, right footed shot. Oh, brilliant! Curls it past the goalkeeper and into the corner of the net. Back from injury, back to fire Arsenal to the top of the Premier League. This is a statement win by the champions-elect.
And the ultimate insults, Arsenal fans, to Aston Villa tonight. Are you Tottenham in disguise? Villa's winning run ended in brutal fashion by Arteta's Arsenal.
Yeah, it was quite a night, wasn't it, to say the least. Chelsea booed off. Enzo Maresco booed off after a draw at home to Bournemouth. Antoine Semenyo starting maybe his last game for Bournemouth. West Ham unable to hang on to a lead once again, and in the end, a bit fortunate to come away with a point against Brighton. What about Everton up to 8th in the Premier League table, and they were missing Dewsbury Hall and Ndiaye and Michael Keane, and Jack Grealish was only fit enough to be on the bench. There were some absolutely amazing results, and Newcastle back on track in terms of the results, but Burnley created a shed load of chances.
Yeah, I read that, Jeff, the fact that Burnley had lots of situations, lots of chances, but again, you see, that's why the strikers, that's why forward players, that's why they're coveted, that's why they earn the money they do and are so desired, because they make the difference. And if you just can't find that cutting edge in your game, you're under pressure.
Yeah, we will obviously talk with some of the decisions that were made last night.
Yeah,
I know you were working last night, but for Vista scores his first Newcastle goal, first Premier League goal for Newcastle. Cannot stand Bruno Guimaraes barges Josh Laurent over in the box as he's about to clear.
Right.
VAR take a look at it and I think, well, this is going to be ruled out. This is obviously going to be ruled out.
Nothing. No.
It was bewildering.
Yeah.
Yet again, look, I fly the flag for Newcastle a lot of the time. They won, and that was the big thing. They weren't great. That is for sure. But look, most eyes, of course, on Arsenal and that win over Aston Villa. Let's hear from the Gunners' boss, Mikel Arteta. He says the win, not surprisingly, will be a huge confident booster moving forward.
It brings a lot of energy and confidence. Energy because obviously we are putting so much effort from game to game to prepare, to arrive in the best emotional and physical state to do that, to compete in the manner that we want, to continue to win. So winning helps, and winning the manner that we've done today helps a lot.
Yeah, look, it was just a fantastic. I'm interested that, he said yesterday that transfer window opening, they might go out and spend. I'm thinking right now, Anthony, you mentioned it right at the start. I'm thinking, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do anything that might upset, and this ship is sailing along beautifully.
Maybe. And look, maybe that has been just another little G up, just another little reminder to his players that don't take anything for granted, guys, because I will get out there and I will go and add if I can. I don't think there's anything. When you look at the power of that squad, and Declan Rice not playing last night, and Marino dropping back one into the middle of the park with Zubimendi was great. Odegaard come on to a very strong game second half. Lovely goal when he threaded that through for the second one for Zubimendi. Really good play. You look at them, Jeff, and you're thinking, well, what are you going to go and get? Maybe you might want to, if there's a couple of younger guys out there that for the future, for other areas in time, but such is the power of that Arsenal squad that I can't see anything obvious out there that they could go and get.
They've got players for multiple players for every position, including centre forward, by the way, because Gabriel Jesus came on and reminded us what a good player he was a couple of years ago.
So true. Brilliant goal. You forget he's a serial winner and knows exactly what it's all about. Yeah, and Kai Havertz coming back. Kai Havertz was there last night as well, so it won't be long before he's getting some game time and some minutes. Everything. Gabriel came back, and of course was Gabriel. He is now. He's a cult hero on the amongst the fans. He's got great spirit, great attitude, great determination about everything that he does. Had a key role in the first goal, but they've got everything in place, and it's tough to look beyond them. It really is. Even with City spending the money they're going to perhaps on Semenyo, it's hard to look beyond Arsenal right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a fantastic second half performance. I'm going to ask you later on if you've changed your mind over against Demi Martinez.
Yeah.
But you know what a big fan of Onana I am, and I think his absence in the second half was massive as well. Luke's texted. He says, "Morning, Jeff and Andy. Good as Arsenal were in the second half, they were very lucky that Mikel Merino stayed on the pitch 1-0. Won't hear Arsenal fans complain about the referee, I'm sure. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, Luke." He's got a point, hasn't he?
He's got a big point. I mean, Merino was on a yellow card. He and Onana were having a little bit of afters in a couple of challenges towards the end of the first half. He was on a yellow card. Morgan Rogers, 15 yards inside Arsenal's half, skips past him, and he grabs his arm, hangs on to his arm. One thing he's grabbing, I always say this, if you grab someone, you've got to let go pretty quick. If you're just trying to disrupt or disturb them in the box or anywhere else on the pitch, if you grab someone, you've got to let go pretty sharpish. Otherwise, it's a blatant yellow card. And how on earth the referee saw that as nothing more than just a foul? It wasn't. It was a yellow card challenge. And Merino indeed was fortunate to the point where within 5 minutes, Mikel Arteta has gone, "Off you come, son," and put somebody else on, because he knew full well he was actually just sailing a little bit too close to the wind a couple of times. But yeah, look, Villa, I mentioned at the weekend, yesterday, Jeff, Villa against Chelsea. Maatsen, I thought, handball one. Chelsea should have had a penalty. And that wasn't given. And I look at that one again last night and I think, how on earth has Merino not got a second yellow for that? But I suppose nothing changes with football, and in terms of now that we've got VAR there, we wanted to clean it up. We feel that we shouldn't see injustice as often as we do, but it's seemingly that element of it isn't going to change, not in the immediate future. I think we're still going to witness plenty of that.
Yeah. I mean, from Villa's point of view now, hey, it's not over. They're in a great position in the league. So they've got to respond, though.
Correct.
Against Nottingham Forest next time. By the way, a bit's being made about the fact that on field at the end, Arteta and didn't shake hands. I think it's a complete storm in a teacup. Arteta's busy with his coaching staff, hugging and congratulating.
Yeah, big night for them.
How long does Emery wait?
Yes. Well, I think what Unai Emery said after the game was, look, hold on, I always go and shake the hand of the manager, and then I go and hug his staff and congratulate all my players as they're coming off the field or whatever. He felt he was standing there waiting a little bit too long. Look, he's not going to hang around. He's disappointed. His team have been well beaten, and whilst Arsenal are celebrating, you can't expect him to stand there forever. So he waited, and he wanted to shake Mikel Arteta's hand. Look, he's a classy guy, and he's not the sort of guy that would just want to cause a rumpus for the sake of it. Not at all. He waited, and but he weren't going to wait forever.
Yeah, look, Mikel Arteta made it clear he wasn't offended by that.
No.
It's of zero significance.
Correct.
Big, nice. Big win, though, for Arsenal. Ball's back in your court, Manchester City. Coming up, we'll be taking a look through the back pages next and wishing a very happy birthday to perhaps the greatest manager of all time.
I think he is.
Good morning. It's the final talkSPORT breakfast of 2025. It's almost 6 Wednesday, December the 31st. Craig has texted in and he'll speak for a lot of Gunners fans, I think. Brilliant statement win for us. We properly burst Villa's bubble. And yes, Mourinho should have gone, but that Villa fan sounds so bitter. We put them firmly back in their box. It's over to you now, City. My New Year's Eve glass of wine will be so much sweeter tonight. Yeah, I completely
enjoy it.
take the point. Yeah, look, it was absolutely brilliant. I don't think, whoever you supported, I don't think you'd have foreseen that sort of scoreline.
No, I don't think it. I think very few. Certainly after half an hour, I don't think too many would have foreseen that.
Yeah, dead right.
But look, in the end, Jeff, as you said, worthy winners, and they kind of rubber stamp their authority at the top of the Premier League with such a strong performance.
Emi Martinez is having one at the moment, isn't he?
Well,
I know maybe he wasn't to blame at Chelsea.
Yeah, I thought the Chelsea one kind of drifted over people at the near post, and it was awkward, and it bobbled and bounced and found a way in. Last night's one, punch it. I think if you're under pressure and he's very, very good at handling under pressure. It's a strong part of his game. Is that ability to do that, and it's great when a goalie. We always love a goalie that comes and catches it because it relieves pressure and when he's got it in his hands. But I think last night under pressure from Gabriel, big pressure from him. There was pushing and shoving as goalkeepers do as the ball was being delivered. And Gabriel made his size and strength, put it to good use. I just thought made the wrong decision, Martinez there. Don't catch that one under that sort of pressure. Just get a fist on it and punch it up in the air and get it away as high as you can.
Now then, glory, Man United. We mentioned it before the break. The reason we're playing that, of course, it's the birthday of the club's greatest ever manager. That's not in question. Sir Alex Ferguson, 84 today. So where does he, not in terms of British managers necessarily, but in terms of managers full stop, where does he stand?
He stands, look, for me, he stands at the very top for longevity, for what he won, for the way that he did it. I think he's unique. The desire and the commitment you have to keep putting into that job. We see what it does to people. You know, you can see how difficult being in the spotlight, particularly at a club like Man United, how hard it is. To think he did it, what was he, 26 years, Jeff?
Yeah, amazing.
26 years.
Amazing. He never lost his drive.
No.
Never lost his desire.
No. He was, and he was...
He didn't care if he rubbed people up the wrong way. No. Not one shot.
And he was as difficult for his own players as he was for opposing players.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't. And, you know, even I remember once Ali and I, years ago, doing Champions League football on ITV. And he walked up the tunnel before a game, Jeff. Fergie walked up the tunnel. And Coisty and I were standing there. We both offered our hand to sort of shake hands with him. Custard pied the pair of us. Because apparently the week before we might have said something about United or something he wasn't happy with. You know, nothing. Didn't miss a trick.
No.
Not at all.
Never. Congratulations to Alex. You have an absolutely fantastic day. Right, let's take a look at today's back pages with Tesco Mobile for Business.
Backpage review on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Are you self-employed? Get business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big mobile networks. For terms and verification, visit tescomobile.com/business.
And Angelina Kelly's joined us. Morning, Angelina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, looking at the back pages, of course, you know, Arsenal's win over Aston Villa, dominate, you know, mind the gab. Gunners 5 points clear as Brazil duo strike. A flame of two halves on fire. Gunners romp after break. Arsenal deliver title statement, etc. There was another article there that I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on. Luke Littler's mum blasts the crowd. So I think it was only yesterday, wasn't it? We were talking about Luke Littler reaching the quarterfinals of the PDC World Championship. He was very animated. He was getting booed and he said, "You guys pay for tickets and you pay for my prize money, so thank you." His mother has now entered the chat. So his mum has had her say. She's defended her son. She referred to fans who booed him as a word I can't say on radio at the moment, but other words she used were, she called them vile, she called them idiots. And she's responded about the criticism of her son on X. There was a lot of abuse online about him, especially on that platform. And there's a full article in the Times about if Littler is now the pantomime villain and how he will face more boos and how he can use that as motivation. So has his mum added more fuel to the fire here? Do you understand... that's her son. He's 18 years of age. She wants to protect him. We've seen, Aaron Ramsdale recently. His dad, obviously he's a bit older, but, his dad in football recently has spoken out and defended his son. Like I say, Littler's only 18, but is he probably looking at that and thinking, Mum, why have you got involved here? Has it just made things worse?
Look, again, I'm sure... She's done that, but she sees her boy there. She doesn't see such a brilliant darts player. She just sees her son there getting a bit of stick. I've got to say, look, he has had such a meteoric rise to the very, very top. Not just being ultra competitive, to the absolute top of the sport he loves and he plays. And in the main, the support and the acclaim that he's received. I mean, everybody has loved Luke Littler. I don't know what this is all about. Usually when they boo someone, when someone starts getting a bit of grief, there's some sort of reason behind it for it. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I think just the fact that he's been
that good?
Critical of playing in Germany, and there was a large German contingent who in theory started the thing, and I think other people have got wrapped up in it.
So what you might find now, Jeff, what you might find now, Angelina, is that actually the Luke Littler supporters, of which there are plenty, will be out in full voice behind him as well.
You might find that, but I'll be honest, Angelina, Andy, I think I understand Luke Littler's mum, Lisa, isn't it? Getting involved. It is her boy. He is 18. But it won't help silence them, in my view. In fact, if anything, it will make it worse. And
there'll be chants now about his mum and stuff.
My advice is do not rise to the bait.
Oh, yeah.
Stand above it.
Yeah.
And let his talent speak for itself. Because, red hot favourite to win it again this year. Brilliant darts player. Just let his talent speak for himself. And some of the language she used, by the way, was totally unacceptable. Yeah. As unacceptable as the booing from the audience was of Luke Littler.
Yeah, definitely. And, it just makes you think about what the crowd is going to be like next time. I mean, Andy, is there a hostile crowd that you've ever experienced?
Too many to mention. Too many to mention.
He gets them in here when he comes in.
Give stick. Look, it's part of the business. When you're out there, when you put yourself out there in the firing line and you accept. This is what this is always what the public will say. Hold on, well look, when you're accepting all the praise and you're lapping it all up, then at some point it's going to go in the other direction. I'm a little surprised at some of the booing. Jeff's given us a reason as to perhaps why it happened.
But you can use it as motivation.
You can. They will certainly. They'll use the old siege mentality now. It will be like, right, we say nothing to nobody. We won't do the press like we did. We won't do this. We won't do that. That it will be that kind of thought process going through the Littler camp, but he's got to focus on his darts. He's got to show that it doesn't affect him, because if he does show that it's getting to him a little bit, then, as Jeff says, then it will probably get louder.
I got a text from about the darts from Luke. It's not that one, I don't think. It's not either of them, I don't think. It says, don't get what the problem is. The crowd at the Ali Pali always wants the underdog to win, and Littler is no longer that. His mum can't see anything anyway. She doesn't pay for a ticket to contribute to Littler's prize money. Yeah, very good, Luke. Very good indeed, yeah. Look, he'll be back on the Orkney too. We've got a lot of darts to talk about today, including Justin Hood. If you heard him on here yesterday, if you watched him yesterday afternoon, oh my God, he was fantastic. Brilliant. Angelina, thank you very much.
Thank you, Angelina.
And that was a look at today's back pages with Tesco Mobile for Business.
Backpage review on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Are you self-employed? Get business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big mobile networks. For terms and verification, visit tescomobile.com/business.
Luke Littler has given an emphatic response, insisting he's not bothered after being booed during his win over Rob Cross.
Can I just say one thing? You guys pay for tickets and you're paying for my prize money, so thank you. Thank you for my money.
The 18-year-old speaking to our friends at Sky there, well, Jamie O'Hara has given his verdict on Littler's spat with a raucous crowd at Ali Pali.
If you boo him, you're an idiot. He's the greatest thing. We're all watching darts for Luke Littler.
Elsewhere this morning, Serena Wiegman has been awarded an honorary damehood in the New Year's honours list. Leah Williamson, Alex Greenwood, Kira Walsh, Georgia Stanway and Ella Toone were also recognised. But Chloe Kelly was snubbed again. Rory McIlroy and Luke Donald were also left out. Now, Anthony Joshua's promoters Matchroom have confirmed the former heavyweight champion is stable and recovering in hospital following the car crash that killed 2 of his friends. AJ was pulled from the wreckage with minor injuries after the SUV he was travelling in collided with a stationary truck in Nigeria. And Forest have formally complained to the PGMOL for some of the decisions in Saturday's 2-1 defeat to City. But heading into his side's game against Everton tonight, Sean Dyche said he'd prefer not to discuss officiating.
Press refs used to not be noticed. You do their job, disappear, and everyone would just talk about the game. Now they're sort of part of it, and I don't know why the powers that be keep thrusting it upon them. Leave them alone and let them get on with their jobs.
You can hear that one live and exclusive on the talkSPORT app.
$26K for 2026 on talkSPORT.
Yeah, talkSPORT have potentially got a treat for you to start your 2026. Andy, tell us more.
Yes, talkSPORT is already looking ahead to an exciting year 2026 will bring. And we're giving you the chance to win a massive £26,000. What better way to kick off 2026 than with some serious cash? Yes, 26 grand. It's our biggest New Year cash giveaway, and it could be yours. It's 26k for 2026. Here's how to enter.
Yeah, for your chance to win, just text the word WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can call 0343 423 9761. Lines close at 12 o'clock on the 9th of January. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. UK residents only 18 plus. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com/win. So for your chance to win, text the word WIN, W-I-N, to 83338. And the very best of luck to you.
Yes.
DC has had his say on the darts. He said, Jeff, grown men dressed up as bananas giving an 18-year-old kid abuse. I know who should be more embarrassed. Yeah. Thanks, DC. But I tell you what, those bananas,
yes,
they help make it. I mean,
oh, they do. Look, the atmosphere in there is always unbelievable, and it's become an event now that even those that just would normally sit at home and watch the darts. I mean, I've never been to the Ali Pali. I'd love to go. I genuinely would love to go. I've seen a few footballers there having a beer and standing up halfway through it and down in a pint, etc.
Yeah, Mickey van der Ven went this week, and of course, as soon as the crowd, that's. I mean, I tend not to go there. Now, right. I used to go. Obviously, I hosted at the Circus Tavern, but I tend not to go there because as soon as you're recognised, especially a real footballer. Mickey van der Ven got unmerciful stick.
Did he?
About Tottenham's form this season. It's fun.
Yeah.
People want to have a fun time. So I get it completely. And I think he took it all in very good heart.
Good.
As well.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
That's great. 6:37. Okay, let's hit the road to Morocco. Do you remember that? Was it road to Morocco? Bob Hope and Bing Crosby.
I certainly remember Bob and Bing, but the road to Morocco.
It was a road to Morocco. Anyway, that's what we're on right now because the African Cup of Nations is taking place there, and we're just about through the group stages, just about at the knockout stage. Let's get more on how the tournament's shaping up so far with our man in Morocco, talkSPORT's Tony Afoke. Morning to you, Tony.
Morning, Tony.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Andy. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Hey, let's start. I mean, I've been. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen much of it so far. But Nigeria are a side that really interests me at the moment. I don't think this is the strongest ever Nigerian squad, but they're the only side who've won 3 out of 3 so far. They've not won it since 2013. They beat Uganda, which you'd expect them to do, I think, Tony. You'd expect them to beat Uganda. But are they real contenders?
100%, Jeff. Obviously, I'm going to be a bit biased here because I am of Nigerian descent. But one thing I will say about Nigeria is that last year they got to the final and through their defence, they were very resolute and they got to the final even though they lost it in the end. But this year, this Nigeria squad looks really good. They've been creating a lot of chances. Victor Osimhen he's only scored 1 goal, but he's had an array of chances in this AFCON. And they rested some players yesterday, but the fact that they could rest certain players, Alex Iwobi, Wilfred Ndidi, Ademola Lookman didn't get any minutes. Calvin Bassey only played 45. The fact that they could rest these players and bring on players like Fisayo Dele-Bashiru and Rafael Onyedinka, 2 players that play for Lazio and Club Brugge respectively, they can bring on players of Champions League level to play a game that they didn't really need to play their stars, and that shows how decent this Nigeria squad are at the moment.
Yeah. Tell us, Tony, about Uganda's goalkeeping situation yesterday in the game, because, look, to lose a goalkeeper, that happens, but to have to play 3 in one game is rare, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, honestly, when I tell you, I was at the game yesterday and I was reminded of I was thinking, is it like 2008 with the FA Cup and Man United? I was thinking one of the defenders had to go in goal. But basically, their first goalkeeper is a 40-year-old man. You could tell, like, after one high ball, like, he was feeling something. They want to get the stretcher on, but you could tell he really wanted to play. And then I had to look at his age. I was thinking, if you just want to come off, come off. So he came off at halftime. Bring on a sub-goalkeeper. Victor Osimhen goes through in goal. Then next, handles the ball, and that's a red card, and then the third keeper comes on. And I'm just thinking, I've never seen a game where there's 3 keepers in one game. It was absolutely hilarious.
Well, look, they wouldn't be winning out of turn, would they? Runners up last time, and as I say, they haven't won the tournament since 2013. Comfortable wins yesterday for Senegal, DR Congo. I was looking at the betting, though, and I guess home advantage is a big, big thing. And Morocco's still the bookies' favourites, and they've cruised through, really.
Yeah, Morocco definitely cruised through. They drew 1 game against Mali, but Mali seemed like the draw specialist at the moment, drawing all 3 games. I would say Morocco's the favourite. When you're the host nation, you're expectant. There are loads of players and loads of fans that want Morocco to win. But one thing I will say, with speaking to Moroccan fans, they're not too confident in their side. Not because they don't believe. It's just because there's other good teams. There's Senegal, who, if you look at that team of paper with the likes of Iliman Ndiaye, Nicholas Jackson, Sadio Mane, Ismaila Assar, there's so many attacking talents in there, and obviously Nigeria as well, who also looks really good. Those are the 2 teams that Moroccans seem to be afraid of. But because they're the host nation, they just want to either see a Morocco-Senegal final or Morocco-Nigeria final. Yeah,
and the Ivory Coast, Tony, are they expected to book their place in the final stages now after this one against Gabon later?
You know what? Ivory Coast are practically through. All they need to do is just get good results for Gabon side, who hasn't done really well this tournament. They've looked good. Man United's Amad Diallo's look like their star player. The one thing I will say about the Ivory Coast, even though they're the defending champions, I'm not sure if they'll go all the way back to the final. For those that don't remember, they somehow got to the final last year by sacking their manager mid-tournament, winning on penalties, and then beating Nigeria in the final. I do expect them to go through in that group, the likes of Cameroon as well, but I don't think they could make a deep run in this time. They've got some good players. Yan Diamond from RB Leipzig is a really good player, and as I said, Amad Diallo as well. So they've got some players. Wilfried Zaha, who's somehow come back into the side, hasn't played too well, but I expect Ivory Coast to be in the round of 16.
Yeah, look, it was a miracle they won last time.
Yes.
It was an absolute miracle. Let's be brutally honest about it. I mean, I saw Egypt rested Mo Salah in their 3rd group game as well. Have there been any surprise packages? Do you expect to see any surprise packages, Tony?
You know what, Jeff? For the first time ever, I was literally saying this on the H&J yesterday, this is the first time I can think about AFCON where the big teams have turned up and there's been no surprise packages, which is really weird. I would say one thing is that Sudan have practically made it through into the round of 16, which is lovely for them because they're going through a civil war at the moment. So that's something good for the nation. It shows that, do you know what, despite everything that's going on, resilience can happen and it's something for the fans. But other than that, all the big teams are playing well. All the Premier League players are playing well. You can see like the difference, and it's so weird. Normally AFCON's full of jeopardy. Normally I'm expecting the manager to get sacked midway at the moment, but nothing seems to have happened at the moment.
Yeah, so I haven't seen much of it so far, but I tell you what, Andy, it's a brilliant watch.
It is.
Especially when you get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, we might get a little bit more of a chance there. There's been so much football. We've had so much of it thrown at us over the last 10 days with games pretty much every night. So maybe now we get the chance to see a little bit more of it, Jeff.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, you're allowed to be biased as well, mate.
Thank you. I needed it. After watching us lose the final last time, I need something.
Good lad. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tony.
Cheers, guys.
Brilliant. Sometimes, I think in this country, we underestimate just how big a tournament it is.
Yeah.
When Tony reels off the names of some of those players in that just in the Nigerian squad.
Correct.
Ademola Lookman, by the way. What player he's turned out.
Well, he's turning out to be a really top player, Jeff, and again, use that phrase, being a difference maker. He's certainly got that about him. He's really good, very good.
Hey, New Year's Eve, mate. What are you doing tonight?
No, I mean, look, I don't know. There may be a lastminute.com arrangement. I don't know when I get home, but there's a couple of black tie do's, right? That we've been invited to. I can't be bothered to go, Jeff, and can't put a dicky bow on.
Hate it.
Can't do it now.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And as soon as I put it on, it's like, I mean, it's an age thing, definitely an age thing. Years ago, I didn't mind doing it, but now it's like, oh, goodness, it don't fit. You're squeezing yourself into them normally because you don't wear them from one year to the next. And I'd rather not, to be honest with you. I really would. But I'm sure we will possibly end up going somewhere for a couple of hours or so.
Do people? Did you ever go first foot in? Do people still go first foot in?
No. What's that? Go on.
First foot in was once you got to midnight. We used to, a whole group of us used to troop around the streets. You got to different people's houses, knock on the door, you come in, you'd be the first person over the threshold in the new year. That was what's called first foot in. Now, if nobody turned up at your house, what you did is your family, for instance, my family would send me outside, and I would knock on the door, and they would open it, and I'd come in, and I would be the first foot.
Like it.
For instance, and it was great, and we had a lot of great times. I have to say, sometimes, though, it was fine when you knocked on somebody's door at midnight, 1 o'clock. When you got 3 a.m, you're knocking on people's doors. You'd get locked up for it now, wouldn't you?
Well, you would. And I can imagine. And nowadays, the world's a very different place. When someone knocks on your door nowadays, Jeff, it's true, and it's like, oh, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that out there knocking on the door? Whereas years ago, it was open them up, let them in, let them come in, get them a drink.
Yeah, if anybody comes and knocks on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning, they'll get a bucket of water thrown over them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, still to come on breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. Bricks on bricks on bricks. Over 40 million available to order with delivery to site. That's one less thing to worry about.
Arsenal fans, give us a call this morning after your win over Villa last night. How are you feeling after that victory? Aston Villa fans, is that it? Is the title dream gone? Pick up the phone, give us a call, 03717 223344. The former Gunners midfielder Harry Groves will be with us a bit later on. And we'll also welcome superfan Joel Bayer into the studio at 7. And that was our breakfast preview with Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. With 250 hire branches nationwide, it's easy to hire at Travis Perkins.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me 10 minutes away from 7. It's Wednesday, December the 31st. We've been discussing Arsenal's 4-1 thumping of Aston Villa last night. Ibra was there and he's given us a call. Morning, Ibra.
Morning, Ibra.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Andy. How are you?
Very good, pal.
Yeah, we're good, mate. So, how much did you enjoy that? I'm assuming you're a Gunners fan.
Yeah. Look, honestly, I'm a regular caller, and I've spoken to a lot of people on the show, and they've always put Arsenal down. I don't know why. You're going to crack. But this year it's different. We've got the whole squad. But I'm actually ringing up to emphasise the fact that the amount of injuries that we've had, and yes, there was another example of Declan Rice missing, and who's been a mainstay of our midfield, and yet we've come away with a 4-1 victory against a team that have conceded, I think, 4 goals in the last 11 games and 11 victories in all comps.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
No, Ibra, it was a brilliant performance. You can't use injuries as an excuse, though, because you've got a massive squad. But it was on the day, from your point of view, I think, it was almost a must-win game, wasn't it? And in the second half, let's be honest, you absolutely steamrolled them.
Yeah, true, Jeff, you're 100% right. I mean, the first half was lacklustre. I mean, they didn't have much chances. We had half chances here and there, Gyökeres. But the second half, I don't know what Arteta said to them at half time, but they really came out firing. And I think it just shows everyone that, hang on a minute, this team is not like last year or the year before or the year before. This is a totally different mindset. And I've honestly said this. I've said this on every show, and I'm going to say it on yours as well. We're going to win the Premier League and the Champions League.
Wow.
Mark my words.
Well, listen, I mean, you never know, Ibra. They've certainly got it within their capability. Do you know, and last night, Bukayo Saka is so often their go-to player. So often the guy that is their main man when they need something special was very quiet last night. The ball didn't seem to travel out. And that happens. It didn't seem to operate down that right-hand side. Arsenal very much found a lot of joy with Trossard down that left, and so they were able to win as well as they did without really seeing the best out of Saka.
Ibra, enjoy the moment, mate, and enjoy the rest of the season. It was a fantastic victory as far as Arsenal are concerned. Bitterly disappointing in the end for Villa, but maybe they've just got at the well once too often. Right, Angelina Kelly is back with us with a bit of this.
Anyone recognise this music?
No, I'm struggling, Angelina, with that.
Struggling? Stranger Things on Netflix.
Stranger Things.
Any viewers of it? No.
Yes, I watched, but I think I've only watched. Because what series are we on now?
We're on 5, and the reason why I'm talking about this, it's the grand finale that will be going out on Netflix at 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. You've not got time to catch up now.
No, but
it's got battered. This series has been battered by the critics.
Has it really?
Well, this is the most expensive TV series ever made. 1.2 billion views. Like I said, it's the finale coming out. And this last season 5, there's actually a conspiracy that fans believe that scenes have been cut. There's signatures. 300,000 people have signed a petition for these scenes to be released. People are not happy, and the fans are reeling because this final episode is only 2 hours, and there's a lot of loose ends to tie up, and they're not sure if they're going to be able to do it.
Do you know, that's a very good point you make there. I do find when you watch a lot of these series nowadays, after a while you start to think, how's this going to end? Yeah. And they don't. It's almost like the people that are making it don't really know how it's going to end and what.
That's how it feels. I mean, for those who don't know, it's obviously set in the 80s, focuses on a young girl, 11, whose telekinetic powers open a gateway to an alternate dimension, and the scary monsters that come from this dimension, and they're unleashed on the town, and they're going into final battle. But one of the best things about this show is that it's set in the 80s. You've got the clothes, the references, the songs, and this one song in particular has had a resurgence.
Great Kate Bush.
What a great
song. She has pocketed reportedly £10.8 million from this revival of Running Up the Hill.
Wow.
40 years since its original release.
She ain't running up no hills now. She's in a limo going up the hill.
With champagne all the way, yeah. So and people have gone wild over this song, like it's people doing trends on TikTok. It became the #1 single of the year worldwide, according to Billboard, when it was first used in 2022. And reportedly in the finale tonight, a song will feature that has never been licensed for a TV show before.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so a lot of people thinking it might be Prince, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry. But just thinking about the 80s music, you know, I'm sure you two were in your pomp in that decade. Are there any songs that you'd like to see maybe have a bit of a Kate Bush effect and get a resurgence? You know, Jeff, I know you're a big Bruce Springsteen fan. Like to
don't need a resurgence.
They're already
knows
as
all
good.
The Springsteen stuff. You don't need a TV show to promote Springsteen. That's for
trying to think back to the
or any fashion trends or anything from the 80s that you want back.
Well, it's before the 80s. Platform heels. If you're my size, you want platform heels. That's what you want. You know, put another 3-4 inches on your height.
Music-wise, do you know what I used to love in the 80s? I used to love George Benson. Right. I used to love. Do you remember Gimme the Night and songs like that, Jeff? I used to love George Benson, listening to him. Thought he was great. And then as I got a little bit older, I started to just develop more of a love for rock music.
Okay.
So very
you're
different.
a headbanger,
Yeah, exactly. Become a bit of an headbanger. But yeah, I used to love. And George Benson, by the way, was huge, was massive in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, when you're saying, I mean, look, my wife and daughter are big fans of Stranger Things. So when people are saying, oh, there's so many loose ends to be tied up, you know, how they're going surely that's what it's about. You want there to be a lot of loose ends. You want not to know what's going to happen.
Is it all definitely
in that final episode?
Is it finishing, Jeff?
Well,
is that it?
They say that it is, but the popularity of this and the amount of money and the success that these stars are having, in one of the articles I was reading today about it, stranger things have happened that maybe they might
stay
come
with
back.
it. No, I mean, Ted Lasso's a classic example. Once it's run its course, the writers know it's run its course. Stop, you know? And I mean, I think there probably is going to be another series of that as well. But I was thinking,
They must be fed up
go
with
out
it
of the
by
top.
now.
Look at Fawlty Towers. 12 episodes. People, you know, still talk about it today.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, you know, if you're looking for something to do New Year's Eve, soon as it's 1 a.m. New Year's Day.
Is that when it is?
Yeah, so maybe you've only watched an
asleep.
episode or two. Maybe, you know, New Year's Day, if you've got an out going on, you just put it on and just see what happens.
I think I might well give it a whirl.
If you're into that kind of the sci-fi stuff.
My wife and I watched, I think, of most of that. She's probably seen it all. She's probably ready for the last episode, and I've, as usual, miles behind. But I might give it a whirl now, Angelina, especially for that song. I want to hear that song, whatever that one is.
Yeah,
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, it could be Prince, could be Queen as well. Some people have been talking about. Yeah. So who
but again,
knows?
Anything back Prince, anything back Queen, they don't need a resurgence because
They're already great.
etched in people's, you know, lives and memories forever. You know,
But whatever song it is, it will now be a TikTok trend. Whatever.
Thanks, Angelina. Up next on Talk Stranger Things, we're discussing whether Mikel Arteta and Arsenal should resist the temptation to dip into the transfer market.
From the Toffees to the Tractor Boys, the Eagles to the Seagulls, Gunners, Bees, Hammers and Magpies, Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Let's start with Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were two local toffee shops. Ye Ancient Everton Toffee House and Mother Noblet's Toffee Shop were big fan favourites. Next, they say if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and that's exactly what Ipswich Town did when it came to their nickname. The term Tractor Boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire is also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles." And some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
Yeah, good morning to you. This is talkSPORT Breakfast at 4 minutes past 7 on Wednesday, December the 31st. We're with Arnold Clark, sale on your next car in the real sale. It's the UK's biggest used car sale. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me all morning. Loads for you on the way this morning, of course. We'll have more shortly on Celtic's loss last night to Motherwell. Just how much pressure is on Wilfred Nancy ahead of the Old Firm derby this weekend against Rangers? The answer? Plenty. Of course, Rangers won last night as well. They're 3 points behind Celtic, but Hearts still clear at the top of the table. Plus, Andy will have his say on reports that Arsene Wenger's daylight offside proposal is being seriously considered by Gianni Infantino and FIFA. Goodness sake. And, of course, more reaction to that statement win for the top of the table. Arsenal 4-1 it finished against title contenders Aston Villa, live on talkSPORT last night.
Right now, all three can win it. Tonight might tell us just how many real contenders we actually have.
Happy how we competed the first half, how we created the chances to score.
And then Ollie Watkins from 7 yards out, slides the ball wide to the right-hand upright. and misses a golden chance to score for Aston Villa.
They're feeding on scraps at the moment, I think. Arsenal, Villa defending very well.
Right under the goalkeeper, who drops it into his own net. It's in, and Arsenal lead. Gabriel is back.
In both boxes, I think that's why he's one of the best in the world.
This might be a statement victory. Gabriel Jesus edge of the air, right-footed shot. Oh, brilliant! And Gabriel Jesus ends a 363-day wait for a goal. Back from injury, back to fire Arsenal to the top of the Premier League.
It's a great way to finish the year against a team, obviously, that is in great form, 11 wins in a row.
Of course, it's not changing how we are doing. How we are with 39 points, of course, is something we must be proud of it.
And Arsenal beat the unbeatables to go 5 points clear. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 1.
A big night as far as Arsenal are concerned, and as far as Aston Villa are concerned as well, of course. Let's get more now with broadcaster, big Arsenal fan, joins us live in the studio, Joel Bayer. Morning, Joel.
And a good morning it is to the both of you. How are you? How are you?
We're good.
We're good. Well, listen, I'm obviously a little bit disappointed with how it all finished up. First half, Joel, very competitive, as what Jeff and I have been talking about.
Yeah.
Villa had one or two good situations. I think Ollie Watkins should have got better.
Yeah.
Made more of that really good chance when Ezri Konsa rolled him in. But second half, your boys, they really did step up and completely overpowered Villa in the end.
Honestly, that was a fantastic 45 minutes. We were on fire. And the word that comes in mind is what Real Madrid was saying about us last year in the Champions League. Remontada, right? That means revenge, okay? And I was here last time. And you guys gave me a hard time yourself. And Gabby, of course. Oh, my gosh. And I've been waiting to come back. And you know what? It was a big relief as well because Arsenal have needed a statement win like this for a while. And all of a sudden, it's like there's this rivalry with Villa. And to stop an 11-game unbeaten run, well done to the boys for sure.
Is that done and dusted then now, Joel?
Done and dusted at the beginning of May, like I said last time. We'll have it at the beginning of May.
Brilliant. Look, I mean, let's start at the back because your preferred central defensive partnership of Gabriel and Saliba restored. Yeah. How important is that to you? Not just last night, but for the rest of the season.
I mean, you can see it already. If you see Saliba and his last-ditch tackles, you see Gabriel being a threat not only in his box, in the opposition box as well. You can see the understanding is there, the fear, the physicality, the confidence, the insurance. For me, that is the best centre-back pairing probably in the world of football. I'm not saying that they're the best individually, but in the world of football, they're probably the best. And they are key to everything that Arsenal represents today and going forward.
Yeah, so, they are. Yeah. Gabriel's, we were talking earlier, Joel, he's become something more than just your centre-half. He kind of...
Colossal.
He shows this spirit that I think the fans absolutely love, and he's celebrating every challenge he makes. Some of them quite routine, to be honest, but he's punching the air and he's getting the crowd whipped up. Yeah. And as you say, he has big effect in both boxes. Saliba is so calm and cool and quietly effective in comparison to Gabriel. But as a pair, as you say, they complement each other lovely, don't they?
Did you see the little when they walked down the tunnel and he put his hands in the pocket and he, did copying a Nana thing.
Did he?
Yeah,
did he do that?
Same thing, and it just felt sweet.
3 points in the pocket.
In the pocket.
I tell you what, we were touching on this morning. If you're a Gunners fan, you talk about Gabriel and Saliba, and you talk about Declan Rice, you talk about Kaya Saka, talk about David Ryan. Nobody ever seems to talk about Leandro Trossard, and it seems to me that this season he's been such a key player for you.
Like, honestly, when I see him in the starting lineup, I'm like, yes, I'm happy he started. I love the thing that we've got going where he starts and Martinelli comes on and, very effective. And I don't know if it's because of the Madueke signing on the other side or Eze signing, and it just adds that competitive edge. I really thought this could have been Trossard's. I thought the summer he might have gone.
Yeah.
I think they were in talks of potentially him going somewhere. I don't know. It's been to see the guys on fire, and even Odegaard, I have to say, he's come back and he
came onto his game, didn't he?
He's been really good.
Yeah,
what were your thoughts? I have to say, Andy, when you saw, are you scared of us now? Or...
Oh, listen, look, Jeff and I were talking about it yesterday, Joel.
Yeah.
Listen, you have everything now in place to go and win it. You have everything there. And I've never subscribed to the Arsenal bottling it and all this stuff. I've never really believed any of that. And I think last night, second half, when you needed to up it, you found it and you did it. we're talking about Trossard. I thought he was your best player. I genuinely
You could have picked out of 5, mate.
Oh, you could. There was a lot of very good performances in the end last night. There really was. But you are absolutely there on merit. You have a super powerful squad with some very talented players.
Yeah, I tell you what,
really
Mikel Arteta had a smile which resembles the one that you've got on your face this morning because he knew how big a game it was. Obviously, as a Gunners fan, do you want to see Arteta go out and spend in the January window, or are you content with what you've got?
You know, I was thinking about this in the green room, and my first initial answer is I don't care at the moment. But in all realistic honesty, I think we're good. We've got like 3 strikers at the moment with Gabriel Jesus, Havertz back, and of course Gyökeres, and they're all different. For me, if I'm going to be picky and go, where can we improve? I think when Declan Rice isn't there, it's always a bit of an issue, but maybe that's because the other players haven't played as well that could play in that position. I don't think there's an excuse, but I got a question for you really quickly, Jeff. Man City, what do you think when everybody says, they're on our case and we got to be careful, we got to look on our shoulders? What's your thoughts?
I think they're on your case. You've got to be careful. You've got to look over your shoulder because City, at the moment, they are flying. I still think City have got 1 or 2 defensive vulnerabilities. Yeah. But, you know, people who listen to this show will know I've criticised Phil Foden in the past, but he's flying at the moment.
He is.
He looks absolutely right back to his best. Yeah. And they have got a 19-goal man in the Premier League up front in Erling Haaland, and you have got a 5-goal Premier League man in Victor Gyökeres up front. And that's to me where... But what I do think is that I've forgotten how good Gabriel Jesus can be.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and it was great to see him back. It was great to see him, not from a Villa perspective, but great to see him get on the score sheet last night as well.
It's going to go down to the wire, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Joel, what did you think of Gyökeres last night? What do you think?
I think he got himself about. He tried. I think it's...
This is damning with faint praise, isn't it? You know?
I think for him personally, it's difficult because you get taken off. The guy you get taken off for scores in like his first 1 or 2 touches. And, you know, I'm hearing a lot of the players don't trust him, etc. I think it's a confidence issue at the moment, man. And
I thought that, you know what, the chance he had in the first half, his header, that he kind of tried to loop back to the far post. But we should have just potentially hit the target with that one.
That was a tough one, though.
The diving header was great movement. Yeah. Great ball in. Again, Trossard, brilliant ball in. But when he peels away in behind Lindelof, then he quickly moves across the front of Lindelof and then across Konsa. Diving header. Got there. Again, might feel he should have hit the target. But I thought there were some signs last night. He tried to receive the ball, take a couple of shots early, a little bit selfish. But that's what he needs to become.
Your centre forward's not scoring, but you're still scoring 4 goals in a game.
Correct.
You've got a big problem, really, have you?
No, you haven't.
Who do we start?
I thought he did all right.
From you guys watching on the outside, who do you have out of Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, and Gyökeres?
Well, I would play. I think the best player out of those 3 as a striker is when he's fit and he's well is Gabriel Jesus.
Okay.
I personally do. And don't forget, he's done this before with City. He's won titles.
Yeah.
And so he knows what it's all about.
You've got a big month ahead, though, Andy. You said how many games?
They've got 9 games in January, the Arsenal.
Games in January. This is where I think Villa won't be able to compete. I'm not saying they've got 9 games, but I just think the squad depth is, you know...
It was apparent last night, wasn't it? It was difficult for them.
Who do you bring on, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll go through some of them, Jeff. They've got Bournemouth away, the Arsenal. Yeah. Then they got Liverpool home, right? They go to Pompey in the FA Cup. They got Arsenal. Then they go to Chelsea, to the Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to Forest. Then they go to Inter Milan. Then they play Man United, right? They've got Kairat in the Champions League.
All winnable games.
I mean,
winnable games.
And then Leeds away to
got
finish.
The squad that he can rotate at will, really, you know, for a lot of those games. They're so well placed in the Champions League, for example, you know, that you can rotate.
Hits. Yeah, we can do what we want.
Very much so.
Honestly, it's it's just how it goes, really. When you got a good squad.
Yeah. Anyway, the next time that Arsenal lose, we'll invite you back in.
Yeah. Listen, gents, have a good one. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Great to see you.
Thanks, John. Great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Up next, we'll ask whether last night's draw with Wolves just summed up Manchester United's 2025. Good morning. Final talkSPORT breakfast of 2025 with me, Jeff Stelling, and Andy Townsend. A great night for Everton, wasn't it? They did the double over former boss Sean Dyche. They won 2-0 at Forest last night, up to 8th in the Premier League table. What a job David Moyes has done. And that was, by the way, without Dewsbury Hall, without Ndai, without Michael Keane, with Jack Grealish only fit enough to be on the bench. But for Forest, still 17th in the table, 4 points clear of West Ham now. after 3 straight defeats. And on the sports bar, Jamie O'Hara, well, he would, wouldn't he? Said he can see Evangelos Marinakis sacking Sean Dyche as the pressure mounts.
It ain't good, and, you know, I don't know how Marinakis is feeling about this right now, because I know he's one of them who don't mess about. He didn't mess about with Ange, but, you know...
I don't think we're there yet. We're not at that Ange.
No, I'm not thinking about, obviously, Sean. I think Sean, you got to give Sean till the end of the season, but if they finish 17th, right, and Nottingham Forest stay up, Sean Dyche gets sacked. He does. Yep. He gets sacked.
Does he go, does he?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Because he ain't. I know he's brought Sean Dyche in to, you know, steady the ship and keep the club up.
Steady the ship. Yeah.
What's his contract?
But I think he also is like saying,
show me a little bit of.
You got to show me something. You know, he's a European football team last season.
There don't seem to be no progression with regards to the league's fixtures, and I think that's what's the most concerning thing at the moment, because Ellen Road's going to be a fortress on the run-in. Forest can be a fortress, but as soon as we go a goal down, it's just not good.
Yeah. By the way, Sean, if you're listening this morning, that was Jamie O'Hara saying you're going to be sacked. Jamie O'Hara. Okay. I think that's absolute nonsense. I'll be honest, they were terrific against Manchester City. They were poor last night. But it does beg the question, when you look at that table, now they're away to Villa next.
Yep.
And then they're away to West Ham. Oof. Are Forest too good to go down?
No.
That's the cliche.
No, they're not. They're not too good to go down. I personally don't believe they will, but I don't think for 1 second Dyche or any of his any of the staff and anyone working at Forest right now is starting to believe that when they look round the dressing room thinking, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll be absolutely fine. They know they're going to have to work for it and earn it and make sure that they get it done properly. They're right in the thick of everything that's going on down there. And what they don't want, Jeff, they don't want a sloppy, casual, poor start to the new year, which is going to drain them of any more confidence, because otherwise, and particularly with that West Ham game, I mean, that is...
Oh, well, they can be right in the thick of it.
Massive, that game. Yeah. Wow, that is, you know...
And, of course, West Ham have got Wolves before that.
Yes.
So,
so that look, there's opportunities. There are going to be opportunities. It's going to be a chop and change a bit, but certainly Forest, particularly at home, I think the atmosphere there, whenever I go to Forest, it's one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League. They really get stuck in and get behind their team. They've got to make sure that they win, start winning games at home a little bit more.
By the way, James Garner, brilliant goal, and then his assist for the second goal for Tierno Barry was fantastic. He is out of contract at the end.
James Garner is.
James Garner. Now, if I'm David Moyes, I've got James Garner in his offices today with a contract in front of him because he's a phenomenally important player.
I wonder why. Well, look, I mean, you'd have thought that something would have been, a deal of some sort would have been presented to James, because you're right. He is a really clever footballer. And again, he's quite versatile. He can play in a few positions, but I think he's a really smart player. I'm surprised that's not tied down, but maybe he wants to get into that last 6 months scenario to maximise opportunities. Clearly he does, but I think Everton would regret not trying to get it sorted.
He's very, very respectful to Forest, his old club, last night after he'd scored. Didn't celebrate and all. He said afterwards, he said, look, Forest have been so important to me in my career. There was no way I was ever going to celebrate against them. Great night for Everton. Not so great for Manchester United fans. Let's turn our attention to events at Old Trafford. Angelina's back with us. Hi again, Angelina.
Hello. Yes, 1-1 against Wolves last night. Not good enough. A lot of fans expected to see Patrick Dorgu, who you and I, Jeff, were not his biggest fans, but thought he'd be back on that right wing after the success that he had.
Yeah, that was odd, wasn't it?
Back to left wing back. Amarin switched to the back three again. I just think to draw against a side who are on track to be the worst Premier League team in history, it just sort of summed up the year, and I felt sorry for the fans. I know that there were some boos, but, to end the year on this kind of...
But Arsenal only just squeezed a win with 2 own goals against them. Liverpool only just squeezed a win against them.
True, and I think it's quite an interesting thing when you look at Wolves in that they are on track to be the worst team, but they are very, very resilient in these games. Like, you think about that Derby team, they were getting absolutely hammered left, right and centre, whereas it is an interesting thing with Wolves, but I just think I just expected more, I think, because Man United did manage to get a win against them. But you know what? Props to Wolves. They put on a good performance, and the bottom line is Man United weren't good enough. You know, you have a starting 11 that cost £430 million.
Yeah, but in fairness, I mean, Angelina, you should be standing up for Manchester United, but no Mason Mount, no Mbeumo, no Diallo, no Mazraoui, no De Ligt, no Maguire, no Bruno Fernandes, no Kobbie Mainoo. That's a lot of players unavailable.
Yeah, there are a lot of players unavailable, and we saw, Jack Fletcher coming on. Who it's nice to see the youth, but do I think that he's completely ready for the Premier League? I'm not too sure. Obviously, they've had to draw on some of the youth because of the injuries and AFCON. I think when you just look at the year in general, despite the new signings providing a boost, they have been inconsistent, drawing too many games.
Yeah.
Last season we're losing too many games. But then you look at where they are in the table, and we do need this table to level out. We do need to wait for that. But Man United are exactly where they should be, I think.
2 points off the top four.
Exactly. So I think, and I always, when we're on the Man United YouTube show, we talk about when we're on Inside Devils and, can Man United get top four? I don't necessarily know if they're ready for top four. I think they would struggle to juggle the Champions League, etc. But I think the position that they're in is a great position to be in. And when you think about last year, it's they have made improvements. And I think when you look at the stats for the people that are into stats, they've had more shots on target than anyone else. They've scored the third most goals in the league. Only Arsenal and Man City have scored more. If expected goals if you're into that kind of thing, they're third behind Arsenal and Man City. But then, only West Ham have kept less clean sheets. So it's an interesting one. I think the main issue is the form at home. Because I wanted to ask you, and 1-1 draw with Wolves and West Ham, 4-4 with Bournemouth. Why do you think that is? Is it a tactical issue? What do you think?
No, I think that some of the United boys find it difficult handling the expectation, the pressure of playing at Old Trafford. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The noise around Man United when things aren't going well is deafening. So for some of those lads, it's particularly hard to handle and cope with. And playing at Old Trafford, listen, when it's all going well and everything's behind them and the crowd are roaring them on, you couldn't ask for a better place to go and play your football. When you're not playing particularly well, when you're inconsistent, when you're not really sure what you're going to get, it can be a tough place. Premier League football is not always straightforward. You think playing at home is absolutely where everyone wants to be every week. Not everyone has got those outstanding home records, and sometimes playing in front of your own fans can be particularly tough. And I think that's very much the case for United. The results suggest that, as you said, that 1-1 against West Ham, the 4-4 against Bournemouth, and that one last night in a game, despite a number of key individuals not playing, as Jeff mentioned. They should get that done. They should get that done, because that's the sort of pressure you don't want. You don't want. I watched Arsenal at home to Wolves a few weeks ago. They found it difficult. Yeah. They found it, but they got it done. Yeah. But they got it done.
Yeah. Last night, Jill's a big Man United fan. She says, last night was a joke again. Jeff and Andy Amarin got it wrong. I was 50-50 on him, but I'm now starting to lose faith. So Jill, big Man United fan. By the way, Jill's going for a dip in the North Sea tomorrow. Do you fancy that, Andy?
All the best, Jill. No, I do not fancy a dip in the North Sea, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Angeline, thank you very much indeed. By the way, Wolves, they've got a kid called, I think it's Mane in there. He looks a player. I think they're improving.
And do you know what I said? I'm just coming back to Wolves very quickly, Jeff, before we go. When Rob Edwards got the job, the spirit in the camp, they're tailed off, they're miles behind. Unless barring genuine miracles, they're not going to get out of it. But the spirit in the camp is still there. You can see that in their performances, and hopefully that will continue for them.
Dean says, just talking about James Garner, Everton have got a 1-year extension for Garner. Should be activated tomorrow.
There you go.
But yes, a long-term contract should be signed pronto. I got a message actually from somebody here I met on the South Bank yesterday, Lewis in Ashford. It was great to meet you as well, Lewis, and you've reminded me that I've got to say hello this morning to Steve, who is a Leeds United supporting cabbie, who is driving to Birmingham as we speak right now. It was great to see you as well. Up next, we'll be heading north of the border and discussing whether a defeat in Saturday's Old Firm clash could be curtains for Wilfred Nancy at Celtic.
Luke Littler has given an emphatic response, insisting he's not bothered after being booed during his win over Rob Cross.
Can I just say one thing? You guys pay for tickets and you're paying for my prize money, so thank you. Thank you for my money.
The 18-year-old speaking to our friends at Sky there, well, Jamie O'Hara has given his verdict on Littler's spat with a raucous crowd at Ali Pali.
If you boo him, you're an idiot. He's the greatest thing. We're all watching darts for Luke Littler.
Elsewhere this morning, Serena Wiegmann has been awarded an honorary damehood in the New Year's honours list. Leah Williamson, Alex Greenwood, Kira Walsh, Georgia Stanway and Ella Toone were also recognised. But Chloe Kelly was snubbed again. Rory McIlroy and Luke Donald were also left out. Now, Anthony Joshua's promoters Matchroom have confirmed the former heavyweight champion is stable and recovering in hospital following the car crash that killed 2 of his friends. AJ was pulled from the wreckage with minor injuries after the SUV he was travelling in collided with a stationary truck in Nigeria. And Forest have formally complained to the PGMOL for some of the decisions in Saturday's 2-1 defeat to City. But heading into his side's game against Everton tonight, Sean Dyche said he'd prefer not to discuss officiating.
Best refs used to not be noticed. You do their job, disappear, and everyone would just talk about the game. Now they're sort of part of it, and I don't know why the powers that be keep thrusting it upon them. Leave them alone and let them get on with their jobs.
You can hear that one live and exclusive on the talkSPORT app.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with me, Jeff Stelling, Andy Townsend and Arnold Clark's real sale. Huge savings to be had on over 20,000 used cars. Now, Arsene Wenger's proposed daylight offside rule is being considered by Gianni Infantino for 2026. Under Wenger's proposal, a player would only be offside if they have fully passed the last defender.
Yeah.
You know what, Andy? Arsene Wenger was a wonderful manager.
Yes.
Some of his ideas are bonkers. And frankly, this would not benefit anybody apart from the attackers. We would still have all the same lines being drawn. And what the heck constitutes daylight? I don't get it, do you?
The mind boggles at the thought of this when we are still trying to just get to grips with VAR and the way that checks offsides in those goal scoring moments, etc. All of a sudden now they're talking about throwing something completely different in.
No.
It won't change anything. And as you say, he's trying to bring in this rule where a player would only be offside if they've fully passed the last defender. Well, for that, there's still going to be marginal calls. There's still going to be the need to put lines on there.
Change nothing.
And I don't think it will change anything.
Give the advantage to the attackers.
Yeah, there must listen. One thing about Arsene Wenger, he is not stupid, and so there is clearly a lot more to it than what we are just seeing that's being floated right now, Jeff. But on the face of it, I think no. Leave it as it is, and let's try and make it better the way that we're dealing with it right now. I think changing that rule into that, and it's going to make it very difficult. Look, playing an offside trap and playing it well is actually, there's a skill involved in that, and working at that Monday to Friday on a training ground. You've got to, the best teams can be very effective with that. When you watch Barcelona this season, they hold a high line and excuse me, they haven't really got a clue what they're doing defensively. That's why they're such a good watch. They're awful at it. But teams that do it well are really, it can be a very effective skill, and it can be put to good use. But this is just trying to engineer situations for forward players to gain even more of an advantage. And I'm sorry, I don't think the game needs that. I don't personally.
It doesn't need more goals. You know, I mean, just look at last night. Look at last night. Burnley 1, Newcastle 3, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 2, Forest 0, Everton 2, West Ham 2, Brighton 2, Arsenal 4, Villa 1, Man United 1, Wolves 1, goals galore with the current offside situation.
And of course, they often bring out these ideas and float these ideas, Jeff, in a World Cup year. And we're just about to enter that because there's always some talk if it's received properly. And I would think there will be trials going ahead in certain matches somewhere across the world to see exactly how this looks. But on the face of it, I just don't like the sound of it because I think we'll still have the need for VAR and someone's foot will be, whilst it might be trailing and he's a yard, it looks like there is clear daylight away from a defender. It might not be, and we'll still have to be checking it and still taking time, and the crowd will still have to be waiting. And I don't think that's what we need to do.
No, I completely agree. Now, if you were focusing on the Premier League in England last night, you might have missed what was going on in Scotland. It was another bad night for Celtic. Not only did Rangers win, but Celtic lost 2-0 at Motherwell, their 5th defeat in 7 under Wilfred Nancy. This was how the under-pressure manager reacted post-match.
Yes, tough night. We conceded 2 goals, one on the throw-in and one on the mistake that we made. And after that, they play well. This is a team that I saw before, and obviously I know the way they play. They are collectively, this is interesting what they do. So after that, the first half was difficult to beat for us. We were a bit in between pressing and stay calm and to jump on the right moment.
Difficult times these. They're 3 points behind Hearts at the top of the table. They play Rangers in the Old Firm derby at the weekend. If Rangers were to win that game by more than a couple of goals, Rangers would leapfrog them in the table. And we all know what we were talking about earlier in the season about Rangers issues. Joining us for more on this is talkSPORT Scottish football correspondent Paul Mitchell. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Andy.
Look, Paul, he's only had 7 games, but have Celtic fans made their minds up about Wilfred Nancy?
Well, he was subject of a lot of singing again last night from the Celtic fans who were highly unimpressed with how Celtic played, how Celtic approached the game. I thought, I don't really, it's a hard word to use, but I thought Celtic were slightly shambolic in the first half. I'm not sure they knew exactly what they wanted to do. The switch to the back 3, which he made from day one when he came in, to me, isn't working. And let's make no mistake about this, Motherwell were terrific last night. They played football. They knocked the ball about with a confidence and an ease that I have rarely seen a non-Old Firm team play in Scotland against Celtic. Honestly, they were terrific, played great football. Celtic, I thought, Wilfred Nancy in his quote there, I think he acknowledged how well Motherwell played, but he's also got to acknowledge that his team was poor, better in the second half, having made 3 changes, but they never, ever looked like getting back in that game.
No. Paul, I remember when he first walked through the door and after, I think, the first couple of games or the first couple of defeats, he turned around and said, I'm more concerned with performances than results and things like that. And you know, you do... On the back of someone like Martin O'Neill goes in and you know exactly what you're going to get with a Martin team, and the way that he got them moving again in the right direction very effectively and very quickly. And then when this guy comes in and starts trotting out lines like that, I'm thinking, why? Why have they ended up going down this route with this sort of coach? It just didn't make any sense at all to me.
What was interesting to me, and if he'd said that in the job interview, would he have gotten the job?
Good shout.
Yeah, because Celtic are never about the performance. Celtic, you know, take them over the last 10 years, 20 years. They've got great players. They play well. They're expected to play well, but they're expected to win, first and foremost, to win. I think the board didn't set him up for success. I would have kept Martin O'Neill for the Hearts, Roma and St Mirren Cup final. They lost all 3 games. I don't think he was set up for success. And also, if anybody's ever been to an MLS game in the States, I have, to be several venues. It's very relaxed. You know, players want to win, obviously, but there's not the same level of scrutiny. No. Every sentence he utters up here is scrutinised. And to come out with something is, I think, naive. I can understand what he means. Every coach wants their team to play well, to look well, to perform well, to entertain people. But in Scotland, simply, you've got to win. And once you're winning, then you can turn the style on.
Paul, could he survive a defeat by Rangers at the weekend?
It would very much, Jeff, I think, to depend on the manner of the defeat. I mean, if Rangers were to go and win 2 or 3-0 at Celtic Park, I think he'd be under severe pressure, because you've also got that January transfer window opening. What are you going to do if you're the Celtic board? Are you going to make funds available to a man that you might not be there in a fortnight? Or do you just decide, no, we pull the trigger now, he's gone, we've got to find someone else? It's a really tough moment for the board, but a situation largely, it has to be said, of their own making.
Paul, who's lost their way since he's taken over? Which players out there are you seeing that are visibly very different from perhaps what they were doing under Martin?
I mean, last night I described it as the effort was there, but I didn't think the belief was there. I think that to me was the biggest difference. Dazan Maida had the most anonymous game that I think I've ever seen him play for Celtic. He was the player of the year in Scotland last year. He barely got a kick. Celtic desperately need to turn him around. Rio Hatate, I think, is wasted playing slightly further forward. I like him as an anchor midfield player. I think he's very effective there. Callum McGregor continues to try and perform. But I think when mid-season you switch from playing a back 4 to a back 3, players are uncomfortable, and I think that continues to show. Celtic aren't quite sure. You know, they played a lot of the time with the back 4. Essentially, when you're playing at home, a lot of that time was the 2 inverted fullbacks coming forward. You had so much support in the middle to push forward. Playing the back 3, you don't get that. Celtic are changed, and I don't think they're as effective.
Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Top stuff, Paul.
Difficult times if you're a Celtic fan at the moment, that is for sure. Akin has texted. He said, I'm surprised you guys are opposed to Arsene Wenger's daylight offside idea. Surely it has at least a possibility of bringing a greater simplicity to offside, which has become ridiculous at this point. Akin, I don't think it does bring a greater simplicity. I don't think it really changes anything. You know, the lines will still be there. It will just favour the attackers more than the defenders, but it will still be just as complex.
Yeah.
That's my view, Andy.
No, and I tend to agree with you. It's interesting actually, and I take Akin's point. There are other people out there that feel that maybe this might, and maybe simplifying it, Jeff, is something that should be considered. But I don't think in this particular example, I'm just not sure that will simplify it in any way.
I don't think it will.
I just don't think it will. I still think
if it did, I'd be all for it.
We're still going to have those marginal calls. We're still going to have the need. Perhaps Akin's thought process is there won't be as many marginal calls. Well, maybe that's something that could be considered. However, I still don't think it on the face of it is going to improve our sport significantly.
We chop and change the laws and regulations so much.
Yep.
So much. Let's try and get the offside law as it is right now, rather than changing it again. That's just my opinion. I'm sure plenty of people have got different views. Right, still to come on Breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. With 250 hire branches nationwide, it's easy to hire at Travis Perkins.
Still loads to react to from last night's Premier League football. What about events at Stamford Bridge? Enzo Maresco's decision to take Cole Palmer off, booed. Enzo Maresco booed at the end of their 2-2 draw against 15th place Bournemouth last night. Is he on borrowed time? Are you concerned this squad, despite all the money that's been spent, isn't good enough to compete for a Champions League spot? Jason Cundy certainly is.
No control. It was chaos. Absolute chaos. It almost felt like there some fans running on the pitch in Chelsea shirts running around.
Wasn't quite as bad as that, Jason. But I do take the point. They couldn't defend set plays, conceded from 2.
Yeah.
And as things stand now with Chelsea, they're only 2 points above the likes of Everton and Sunderland.
Yeah.
But this is just 6 months on since they won the World Club Championship. 03717 223344. Let us know if Jason Cundy is overreacting or if it is that bad at the moment and what needs to change. That was a look ahead, all thanks to Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. Get trade prices on kitchens to suit all styles and budgets at Benchmarks.
And good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast. Hope you're enjoying the final day of 2025, 7:51 in the morning. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with me, Jeff Stelling, and Andy Townsend. I'm just going to read this out, actually. Morning, Jeff and Andy. A Villa fan here. Emery out. He has no plan B to lose 4-1 against a poor Arsenal side. He just hasn't got a clue. And that's Andy in Solihull. So come on, Andy. What, are you a Blues fan?
Yes.
Baggies?
Wolves.
Because you certainly ain't a Villa fan. Anyway, you made us smile, Andy, so thank you very much for that. Headlines this morning. Luke Humphries has set up a quarter-final contest with Jan van Veen at the World Darts Championship after beating Kevin Dutz. Elsewhere, Michael van Gerwen crashed out to Gary Anderson. Anderson won it in, 2016, 2018, so really turning the clock back. And our man Justin Hood, we're claiming him. He demolished.
Was he good?
He was sensational. It was 4-zip, and he checked out in his first 11 doubles.
Brilliant.
It was amazing.
And he was so philosophical when he was on the show yesterday, wasn't he? I'm just going to get out there, do what I do, and then hope it's good enough. And
confident without being arrogant.
Yeah.
That's for sure. By the way, Andy from Solihull's just texted back.
Oh, has
he says, up the Blues. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. West Ham manager Nuno Espirito Santo says the club will be active in the January transfer window. After their 2-2 draw against Brighton yesterday, Nuno says it's clear the club needs reinforcement.
Very difficult transfer window to operate for all the clubs, because clubs there are many clubs in need. So, but we are working hard as a club, and hopefully we need. This is for everybody to see. We need bodies in.
Well, it's a big decision for the club to make, isn't it? You know, do they back him financially now, bearing in mind where they are in the league? They're only 4 points behind Forest now, or do they twist again? I mean, it's a.
No, I think they'd have to back him, Jeff. I think they'd have to get behind Nuno. I'm sure they will. I'm sure that will be the plan.
I didn't get again last. We talked about Callum Wilson. Now, we started him last night, but he took him off after 63 minutes, and he often does that. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's an issue with his fitness. But Callum Wilson played 87 minutes at Old Trafford against Manchester United, so that's clearly not the case.
No, it's true. And I've spoke to managers, Jeff, about. Look, the sports science side of football now is so sophisticated and has got to such a level. I mean, we can see the amount of people there are wrapped round a first team whenever they travel to a ground. There's another bus coming in for all the supports team and the staff and the sports science and physios, etc. And I do think sometimes that managers are dominated by those people, by that department in the football club a little bit too much. And Callum Wilson, for instance, is a good example of that. Look, he's had horrendous injury problems over the years. We know that. But there's probably people there saying Callum's only got an hour in him. He can only do 55. He can only, and managers often, well, they have to listen to these guys. But I have also spoken to some of the more experienced managers, and they've also said you can't listen to too often to that sports science lot, because otherwise they'll be picking the team for you.
Yeah, and not when you're in that position. By the way, we talk about Nuno and whether he'll keep his job or not. It's not his fault that Areola commits a howl. It's not his fault that Paqueta literally rugby tackles a Brighton player inside the penalty area, or that Max Kilman gives away a penalty with a horrendous challenge. That's not down to Nuno. No. That's down to the individual players. More on those stories. Head over to our website, talksport.com. Now, time for this.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year, may we all have a bit of ABBA.
Oh, I love ABBA.
Yeah?
Great, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're brilliant.
There's always one song, isn't there? Obviously, it is New Year's Eve, for those who weren't aware. We were just having a conversation in the green room. Are you into Jules Holland on New Year's Eve?
Yes. I like Jules Holland.
So the debate was...
Too many.
It's Hogmanay.
Well, the debate was, if that is your go-to, are you past it? Are you boring? Or is it all right to like the hootenanny?
I like it, and I like Jules Holland, and I think that sort of works quite well, where someone will play,
Just not having it,
and then he moves it around.
I think he's past it and boring.
Oh,
I tell you, no, I do. I think it's quite good. I do. Well, it's a lot
Okay.
better than what used to be served up when we were kids.
Is that what you'll be doing tonight, sitting watching that?
Might well be.
Jeff will be
I
getting ready for
wouldn't knock
Stranger
it.
Things at 1 a.m. So.
After the last 3 nights I've had here, I'll be early in my bed tonight.
No.
Don't blame you.
I quite like it. I do.
Yeah,
Angela. I
okay.
like
You know what? I'll give you that. I mean, what was it like as a footballer on New Year's Day? And obviously working in football, Jeff, I mean, because it used to be a full fixture list. It was all going on,
It's
wasn't
all going
it?
on. Christmas is a write-off for footballers.
Yeah.
And actually even broadcasters, because you can't let your hair down like perhaps you would like to. You just can't do that. So no, football, Christmas and New Year for players is a tough time. You spend a lot of time away from your family in hotels, etc., etc. Hey, that's the job. You just got to get on with it. You can't moan
And
about
there still
it.
is there's still a football program on New Year's Day. It's a full EFL program.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking Premier League.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
And anyone ever turn up to work on New Year's Day with a sore head, or was there anyone that you knew? No, not naming names, of course, but
I'll tell you what, there was a few players over the years that managed to very, very cleverly rack up yellow cards to all of a sudden get away with a couple of New Year's games.
Ensure they've got a couple of days off over New Year.
And I won't name names, but there was always a few of them where you think, he's done it again.
Yeah.
He's done it again. He's managed to somehow get Christmas and New Year off because he's
it's
got red
like
carded.
Neymar's always injured around his sister's birthday.
Is that right?
Honestly, there's a whole conspiracy that Neymar always, I think it's around April time, he always has an injury and it's always around his sister's birthday.
Wow.
It's funny, isn't it? But yeah, obviously, in the papers, people talking about New Year's Eve resolutions. A lot of people think that they're a bit outdated. I mean, they do date back 4,000 years. That's when they first started. So maybe they've got a point.
Does anybody keep a New Year's resolution?
No, I don't think they do.
Do you have any? I've stopped bothering.
Yeah, no.
I've resolved never to have any more New Year's resolutions.
Correct.
Actually, I'll tell you one thing I think I will do is I'm going to resolve to stop Googling every time I feel unwell. Because I've had every illness in the history of the sun, according to Dr. Google.
Dr. Google is dangerous.
Stay away from Dr. Google.
Stay away from Dr. Google.
Of course, what's going to happen is there'll be the usual New Year's resolutions, Angelina, about going to the gym.
Going to the gym.
Staying that bit fitter.
Diet.
Eating a bit better. Not
Kicking the
drinking as much.
booze. All
But hey,
that.
And that lasts about 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're a couple of years younger than we are, so what are you up to tonight?
You know what? I've got so many different options. No, I'm joking. Obviously, I've been up, not working as long as you guys, obviously, but, been up early, so I think I need to get a nap in. If I'm going to do anything tonight, need to get a nap in this afternoon, but hopefully I'll be somewhere in London with a view of the fireworks. I'm not going outside and getting involved and pushing and shoving and being cold, but somewhere where I can just have a nice drink.
Yes.
See some form of firework with a few friends and just enjoy it. Because when I was younger, as a teenager, I was very lucky. I used to be able to go on holiday for New Year, so
wow,
I was a bit spoiled. So now, I'll just take some fireworks.
Whereabouts did you go?
Caribbean.
Oh,
how good's that?
Now
New Year's
that's
Day
the
in
way to
Barbados.
spend your day. Oh, one of my favourite places in the world.
Yeah.
So that would be a way to celebrate New Year.
Certainly would.
Well, look, whatever you're doing, Angelina, have a fantastic time.
Yes,
And you
enjoy.
guys, even if you're watching Jules Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Jake's text, he says, post-match, imagine the outrage if Mikel Arteta didn't shake Unai Emery's hand. Bit classless from the Villa boss just because real title challengers have slapped his wannabes out of the title race. I think there's more to it than that, Jake. You simply think that Mikel Arteta was involved with his own staff. And how long do you stand and wait? And there was no ill feeling between the two, none whatsoever. So I think it's a storm in a teacup. 03717 223344. The Villa fans get in touch this morning. Is your title challenge over? Arsenal fans, is it in the bag for you now? Do you fear Manchester City? We'll speak to the former Arsenal star Perry Groves next.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend, even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. They'd been introduced not for leg protection, but instead to give batters a strategic advantage. The idea was that batters could put their leg pads in front of the wicket if they missed the ball, preventing them from being bowled out. Obviously, that all changed when the LBW rule came in, but that was the theory behind them. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons, though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB, though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with me, Jeff Stelling, Andy Townsend and Arnold Clark saving the next car in the real sale. It's the UK's biggest used car sale, 7 minutes past 8 o'clock. Daz says, Jeff on Jules Holland, old and past it. I had to chuckle. Daz? I wouldn't say that about Jules Holland. I'm talking about Andy Townsend.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Jules Holland.
Quite right.
Got some resolution stuff coming in as well. Some of it's interesting. Andy says, my New Year's resolution is to run every day for MNDA. Lewis Moody and my friend John Mitchell, who's been diagnosed with MND, motor neurone disease. So well done, Andy. That's a great resolution.
That is.
And Tony the Welkman on frosty Bognor Beach says, I've been listening to talkSPORT since it started. Even Alan Brazil was a young man then. Happy New Year to you both. I am an optimistic hammer. Make that your resolution, Tony.
Yeah.
Stay optimistic. 6 Premier League games last night. West Ham were playing in one of them, of course. But the main event finished 4-1 to Arsenal against Aston Villa, live on talkSPORT.
Right now, all three can win it. Tonight might tell us just how many real contenders we actually have.
Happy how we compete the first half, how we created the chances to score.
And then Ollie Watkins from 7 yards out, slide the ball wide to the right hand upright, and misses a golden chance to score for Aston Villa.
They're feeding on scraps at the moment, I think. Arsenal, Villa defending very well.
Right under the goalkeeper, who drops it into his own net. It's in, and Arsenal lead. Gabriel is back.
In both boxes, I think that's why he's one of the best in the world.
This might be a statement victory. Gabriel Jesus edge of the air, right-footed shot. Oh, brilliant. And Gabriel Jesus ends a 363-day wait for a goal. Back from injury, back to fire Arsenal to the top of the Premier League.
It's a great way to finish the year against a team, obviously, that is in great form, 11 wins in a row.
Of course, it's not changing how we are doing. How we are with 39 points, of course, is something we must be proud of it.
And Arsenal beat the unbeatables to go 5 points clear. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 1.
Yeah, it was a brilliant win for Arsenal, wasn't it? Andy, you changed your mind about Emi Martinez over David Raya?
No, I wouldn't change my mind just because of a mistake last night, although I think he was at fault, no doubt about that. I mentioned, just think the wrong decision. Very, very difficult under that sort of pressure to try and claim that over the top of someone like Gabriel. Might have been better served to just get something on it, a punch on it or whatever, just get some height. That buys you a little bit of time to adjust. But look, It was, and he got a bit of stick, obviously, as you would have expected, Emi Martinez, off the Arsenal fans. David Raya made that unbelievable save from John McGinn late on, Jeff. John should have scored. I mean, he actually hit it straight towards the goalkeeper a little bit. He caught it off the inside of his boot a bit. But it was a good stop. And it was the Arsenal's night, no doubt about that. They were, in the end, they were too strong, too powerful, and had too many options as well on the bench for Aston Villa in the end.
Yeah. Let's have a word on events at the Emirates last night then with the former Arsenal star, Perry Groves. Morning, Perry.
Morning, Perry.
Morning, boys.
So you must be feeling delighted this morning then, Perry, about what happened last night. Did the margin of victory surprise you? Did it flatter Arsenal at all?
I thought first half Villa were probably just slightly the better side. I thought Arsenal in possession were a little bit sort of clunky and out of possession. Although Arsenal tried to press, I don't think there was the energy there in the first half. I think there was, especially in the first 15, 20 minutes, there was 3 or 4 times where Villa cut through Arsenal just a little bit too easily. But when you have Saliba and Gabriel back, which are the two best best centre-half pairing probably in the world, it just sort of gives that little bit of calm assurance. And Andy, tell you, big games turn on massive moments. And there was a massive moment in the first half when Ollie Watkins missed his chance.
Yeah.
Should be worse ways at hitting the target, and he sort of scuffed it wide.
Yeah.
And then second half, I thought Arsenal got to the levels that they got to against Bayern Munich in the second half. That's the levels that Arsenal can get to. And I've said all along this season that we're top of the league at the minute without really sort of hitting our straps. But I thought the second half, the press was higher. I thought there was more energy in the second half. And I thought Martin Odegaard was a conductor. I thought he was absolutely outstanding, just, dictating all the play.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you said there, Perry. I thought Odegaard did finish the game really well, and I thought the ball he played for Zubimendi was pure class, weighted perfectly. And Jeff and I have been, we've been eulogising about Leandro Trossard, Perry. Not always one that perhaps everyone assumes is going to be a regular first choice, but I think he is such a good player, such a clever player, and always has an impact on games.
You know what? And I just want him to look a bit happier when he scores. The goals that he scores, right? He never scores a tap-in. He never scores. They're all very good technical goals, whether they're left-footed, right-footed.
Yeah.
He was probably the best player, Arsenal's best player in the first half.
Yeah.
Down, which is unusual because normally Bukayo Saka is obviously the outstanding player in the wide area. But I thought his crosses into the box were really good. He had a couple of crosses for Gyökeres where maybe with one of the two headers he should have scored.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes, you know what, and as well, when we talk about recruitment, sometimes you can get a little bit lucky because if you go all the way back to when he was signed, Arsenal wanted to sign Mudryk. And Mudryk was too expensive. He was too much money, wanted too much wages. And Arsenal ended up getting Trossard for, I think, about 26, 27 million quid,
wow.
which is unbelievable value.
Yes.
when you consider where he can play.
What a bargain. Look, I mean, nobody's disputing the fact that Arsenal thoroughly deserving winners last night, Perry, and they are in the driver's seat in terms of the title right now. But Andy in Manchester, and a few other people have mentioned this morning, he said, let's hope it's mentioned that Arsenal have had both Christmas games at home and 3 out of 4 games over the Christmas-New Year period at home. No other team has. Random fixtures shouldn't produce this anomaly. How big an advantage do you think it was that over the Christmas period, at least, Arsenal have had 2 games out of 2 at home, Villa had 2 out of 2 away?
It's an advantage, but I didn't hear anybody begin the season saying it was an advantage that the fixtures Arsenal got dealt with in the first 6 games. No, seriously, it's like, just wob your head a little bit sometimes, because what you have to do when you have the advantage, you have to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I think the Chelsea game took a lot out of Villa's legs. I thought Villa looked very leggy in the second half.
Yeah.
So if you go through fixtures, every team will have some fixtures that fall in their favour. But we all know that was a massive pressure game last night. It was huge because Villa in the run that they're in, 11 wins on the trot. Again, I think sometimes sort of things can work for you where for Aston Villa had Matty Cash was out, and I think he's a big miss. Anana goes off at half time.
Yep.
But look at Arsenal's injury list. From the beginning of the season, been without Saliba and Gabriel for a big chunk of that. Because Saka's been out, Odegaard's been out injured. But the thing that I think everybody looked at, the summer transfer window that Arsenal had, was probably the strongest they've ever had. And if you look on the bench, when you're bringing players on, like you can bring on, as Yusuf, he got his goal, Madueke, Lewis Skelly comes on at left back, Ben White comes right back, Declan Rice is missing. So you've got players now like Ethan Nwaneri, who is obviously a very, very good young player. When everybody's fit, you're going to have players like him are not going to get on the bench.
Yeah. No.
That is the difference. I think that's what, and this group of Arsenal players, I think they have a different mentality about them. I think they have this is our Martin McCutcheon, this is our moment. This is where we know we've got to take advantage of the players of the calibre we have. And you just want it in your hands, and again, Andy, tell you, the pressure isn't off, but just that one victory, the belief it gives you, but it just eases a little bit. And now it's over to Man City, because Man City have won the 2 games before Arsenal have played, and that put pressure on. You have to win them, which Arsenal's done, obviously, against Wolves and Everton. Now it's up to Man City when they go a difficult game at Sunderland.
Absolutely. Look, Perry, thanks very much indeed. Have a great New Year,
Top
mate.
stuff, Perry. All the best, mate.
Men in Black, loving your work.
Love it. Cheers. Hey, listen to this, Andy.
Go on.
We're a bit up against it in terms of time, but John, a Bradford fan, as texted, he says, I wanted to point out that 2025 has been the year of the Bantams. Bradford City, obviously.
Yeah.
On New Year's Day of last year, we were 17 points off the top in League 2, but ended up being promoted. We're now 3rd in League 1. We've won 19 home games this year, which is the most of any side in Europe's top 5 leagues.
Wow.
Taking 87 points in the last 12 months. Here's to a successful 2026.
Well done.
Brilliant.
Brilliant stuff,
2025. Absolutely fantastic for Bradford. They are flying high. Up next, we're going to turn our attention to golden oldies. No, not you, mate. In particular, goalkeepers, after Uganda fielded and later substituted a 40-year-old last night. Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me. Now then, we're going to talk African nations cup, but one team in particular, Uganda's starting goalkeeper at AFCON is Dennis Onyango. He's 40 years old, the oldest in the competition. He didn't last their entire game yesterday, though. In fact, Uganda used 3 goalkeepers in their 3-1 loss to Nigeria. But I'll tell you what, I mean, goalkeeper, you can play till a ripe old age, can't you?
When you
must
think about
remember
it,
some.
Yes. Well, look, John Burridge was a teammate of mine back in the day at Southampton. Budgie, what a character he was. Do you know, Jeff, he had a 5-a-side goal in his house, in his front room, up one end. And every night he'd say, take one of the kids in there and they'd be knocking balls at him in the up one end of the front room. He was besotted with goalkeeping and watched everything out there in that particular era, but was such a great guy. 43 years, 5 months. Wow. He was cracking on till. Big Steve Ogrizovic, 42 years, 7 months. Brad Friedel, 42. Mark Schwarzer, 42. Yeah. Alec Chamberlain, 42 years, 10 months. So the goalies, well into their 40s.
Well, there's one playing now in League Two. Joe Murphy at Tranmere is 44.
Right.
44 years of age, and he played on Monday. He's a regular first-choice goalkeeper still.
And now the Ugandan keepers, where they used 3 in the game against Nigeria, the goalkeeper you're talking about, Dennis Onyango, twisted an ankle, right? Now, of course, when you get injuries as you're getting older, and Dennis is 40, and it says he's the heavy-set 40-year-old. So now, again, if you can keep the weight off, if you can keep a bit of timber off as a goalkeeper, because they are so... they work so hard on the training ground. The goalies are they're always in the gym, and then they're trying to keep their agility. Of course, they need all of that. There's no reason why they can't go on till they're 42s and 43s, and there's been some big names that have done it.
Look, I tell you, but you got more chance for your keeper. But listen to this: the Japanese striker Kazuyoshi Miura, the oldest professional football player in the world, has just extended his career for another year. He's signed for the 3rd Division J-League side, Fukushima United FC. He's 58 years of age. He'll be embarking on his 4th loan in 4 years from Yokohama FC. He is still a professional player at 58.
Unbelievable. Was he looking for a 3-year deal? He probably wasn't.
Brilliant. Hey, good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him. But we must have loads of our listeners, Jeff, out there that have played with guys, I think, probably into their 60s, playing Saturdays and Sundays. Come on, send us a text, 810 If you know people that have played right into their 60s and how good they are, and if they're still doing it today, let's name them.
Talking to people in their 60s, let's get the latest source with Coral and Dave Stevens.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here to bring the cheer for all the festive football. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Hey, Steve, I can only dream of being in my 60s, mate. So...
Good morning, Jeff. Morning, Andy.
Morning,
As I was
Dave.
listening to that segment, I thought Jeff isn't going to let this one go. McCoy's would have lapped it up.
Correct.
Brazil would have lapped it up. You didn't let it. Happy New Year, chaps, for tomorrow.
And you, pal.
You too, mate.
A question. How old's Cristiano Ronaldo?
He's 40, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's coming up. I think he's just about to, if he's not already there.
Yeah, he certainly is.
He's
certainly
40.
At least 40.
Yeah.
And he's expressed a desire, potentially, isn't he, to sort of move back to Europe. I mean, there's an extraordinary
He's
player.
he's let himself go a bit, Steve.
He's been on the mince pies over Christmas, Andy, isn't he?
Yeah, I wonder what a Cristiano Ronaldo Christmas.
Oh
looks
yeah,
like.
can you imagine? Yeah. I don't
not
think
quite as relaxed as ours.
I don't think
he'll be out bevying tonight, won't he? New Year's Eve.
Yeah, he might have 2 energy drinks. Yeah.
Yeah, you're brilliant. Look, big game last night, Steve-O. Obviously, Arsenal 3 points. Big blow for Villa. How has it affected the title odds?
Yeah, look, I heard you both talking to Simon yesterday, and I was in agreement with everything. I thought Villa were a big prize. I thought the draw was a runner last night. I thought, if there was going to be an Arsenal win, they might nick it by... And at half-time, of course, it was looking good for Villa. Second half, they just upped it, didn't they? And look, was it the performance of champions? Very possibly. Has it put Aston Villa out of the title race? Probably. They're out to 33-1 now, the same price as Liverpool. But Villa fans, don't despair, because you're still sitting pretty in third. And if you'd have been offered that at the start of the season, I'm sure, Andy, they'd have snatched your arm off.
Of course they would.
So they can't get too despondent.
Not at all. Not at all.
By one result. But what does it mean for the title race? It means Arsenal have shortened slightly, 8-13. Manchester City are 7-4. So are we in a position, 2-horse race for the title? Probably, Jeff. It's hard to sort of disagree with those odds now, isn't it?
Yeah. I would think so at this stage. I think it's a 2-horse race. And look, you know, Villa will still have had a wonderful season if they make the Champions League. There's no doubt about that.
Which are odds on to do. They're 8-11, so they are the sort of the fourth in the betting for that, ahead of Chelsea now. So, as I say, they can't get too despondent. Down the bottom, it's a sort of strange old night for results because I suppose, Nottingham Forest, Andy, are they? They're 7-2 to be relegated. So Wolves, Burnley and West Ham are all odds on. Then it's Nottingham Forest. Another poor result for them last night. Again, they've got a little bit of leeway on the table, but not enough that it's going to be a relaxing New Year for them.
No, not a lot. You're right, Dave. They do have a little cushion at the moment, but that could evaporate pretty quickly unless they get going again. So, look, you can't dwell on these games are coming at them so thick and fast. It was a poor night from last night. I think Daichi admitted that. So now you have to get the boys back in this morning and start getting them ready and prepared for the next one. They've got a trip to Villa next, Forest, which again Villa will need and want to bounce back after last night. So that's not going to be straightforward.
And then they have West Ham, which is
and that's colossal, Jeff. That
massive game.
Yeah.
Can I take you off to the Ali Pali, Dave? Look, I imagine, well, I know full well that the betting will tell you it's between the two Lukes, but we had Justin Hood on the show yesterday, quietly confident, and boy, he was brilliant in reaching the last 8. If I wanted a couple of quid on Justin, what sort of price would I get?
Yeah, look, we're down to the quarterfinals now, so it is the nitty-gritty at Ali Pali. He's 16-1, and in terms of, his quarterfinal opponent, his favourite, Gary Anderson, as you'd expect. Good performance from Gary Anderson to beat MVG, 4-9, 7-4 Justin Hood. But as you say, he's full of confidence, and it sounds a harsh thing to say to Gary Anderson, but he hasn't kind of been wholly impressive throughout this tournament. So he's got a chance. The closest quarter-final, the betting says, is Ryan Searle versus Johnny Clayton, 8-11 Searle, 11-10 Clayton. Luke Humphries, 8-13. And then Luke Littler, unbackable, really, 1-33. The boos don't bother him. It's all just a bit of pantomime at Ali Pali, isn't it? But Luke Littler has been odds on from the word go. He hasn't really changed his odds because we expected him to get here. He's 4-7, ahead of Luke Humphries, 4-1. But yeah, well, I think we all love Ali Pali, and it's obviously back again tomorrow. But yeah, it would be a major surprise should anyone but Luke Littler be lifting this trophy.
And Dave, have you got your gym membership sorted out for January? Just to sharpen up a little bit?
There are certain things I don't do, Andy. One is dry January, because if ever a month you need a slight, a livener to get through the month of January. And that's for gym memberships. No, wait till February when it's on discount.
Hey, Steve-O, Mark the Happy Gooner, he's been reading my mind. He says, morning, boys. He said, I bet you were hoping John Hill was doing Coral this morning. That was the first thing I asked. The first thing I asked when I got to the studio this morning was, would it be John Hill? So do me a favour. The next time you speak to him, just whisper quietly in his ear, Rochdale 1, Hartlepool 2.
He was supposed to be on. He pleaded to me. He said, I can't handle Jeff, he said. He's going to give me a bit. And Jeff, I can't believe you, all the stick you give me. You haven't mentioned Portsmouth. Brilliant victory over Charlton the other night.
Yeah, wasn't it? Well, we
yesterday.
We mentioned it yesterday when Charlton equalised at the 97th minute. The Charlton fans were all chanting, "We never lose at Pompey. We never lose at." And you know that phrase, the words died in their throats. That's exactly what happened. I mean, it was an amazing finale, wasn't it?
It was extraordinary. As I say, I thought we'd thrown 3 points away.
Yeah.
And then obviously Yang went up the other end, and it was one of those absolute vintage Fratton Park nights. But yeah, as for John, he will not be coming on for the next 3 weeks when you're
on. Steve, have a brilliant New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year,
You too, guys. Happy New Year, everyone.
And that was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to Coral, 18+, gambleaware.org. Up next is time running out for Enzo Maresca after more drop points.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here to bring the cheer for the cricket down under. 18+, gambleaware.org.
morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Save on your next car in the real sale. It's the UK's biggest used car sale. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me. Max says, talking about golden oldies, another goalkeeper, Kevin Poole.
Kevin Poole, yes.
Yeah, he was part of the Burton Albion squad in 2014, aged 50.
Wow.
And he turned pro with Villa in 1981, so that's fantastic.
That's a hell of a knock, that is, isn't it?
Jacko says, I played many a time with the Lancashire legend Graham Stamford, who played 11 aside, well into his mid-70s. I can hardly walk, let alone
take some doing that,
play
doesn't
11 aside. That's brilliant.
I'd love to know what position. What was his name, Graham? I'd love to know what. Surely it must have been a centre half, mustn't it, Jeff, or something like that, where you might be able to.
Suggested centre halves are slow.
Well, historically in Sunday League football, you know, we've all played in a Sunday League team with a centre half. You turn around and he's past his best. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Now, last night saw more drop points for Chelsea and Enzo Maresca.
And indeed, that is that. And boos ring around Stamford Bridge. It's one win in 7 Premier League games for Chelsea. Bournemouth's winless run goes on to 10, but they will be by far the happier with a point that they've earned here in West London tonight. It's more drop points for Chelsea. Finished Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 2.
You have to win the here and now. It's one win in 7. November the 22nd, Chelsea were 3 points off Arsenal. They were going into tonight, they're 13.
It's so unbearably frustrating. What was it, 2-2 after 26 minutes? I'm like, this can't carry on. It's literally like playing British Bulldog with no offsides. It was chaos, absolute chaos. It almost felt like had some fans running on the pitch in Chelsea shirts running around.
So Jason Cuddy says this can't carry on. Well, look, it's less than 6 months ago that this club won the Club World Cup, and we all suspected that it might be a tough season because of how much they've been through during the course of the summer. But when you look at it now, Andy, all the spending and the players they've got, the quality, they're ahead of Manchester United on goal difference and just 2 points clear of Sunderland and Everton. 7 points in the last 21.
Yep.
And Man City away next.
Correct.
Is this position in question?
I think it is. I think he's under big pressure now, and I think he knows it. I happen to also believe, Jeff, that Enzo Maresca's done a decent job since he's been at Chelsea, honestly. Because I don't think it was ever going to be straightforward for any coach coming through the door, never mind one as young as him and with limited managerial experience. And I thought he'd done okay, but he's very much up against it now. And you just always get the feeling with managers, when it starts to go, when the slide, when a team gets on the slide as much as perhaps Chelsea are appearing to, there's an inevitability about it. I hate using the term a dead man walking, and he's not there yet, but that's often a phrase that comes up when managers are at the end of their tenure, really. And I think he's in the last phase of his. I just, and again, I was just listening to Scott Minto there, exasperated at again, perhaps some of the selections, some of the players left out, etc. Pedro Neto on the bench last night. Was João Pedro, was he on the bench?
Yeah, he left Pedro Neto and João Pedro on the bench. He left Reece James out as well. He brought him on at half-time. And towards that's more understandable.
Understandable with Reece James. I get that. But I just think at the moment it seems to be going against Enzo, and I think he is battling hard now to try and turn it around and save his position.
Yeah.
I do.
And also, the club's hierarchy are there, and they're hearing the boos when Cole Palmer's substituted. They're seeing Cole Palmer's reaction when he was substituted in the previous game. They're hearing the boos at the end of the game last night. And, of course, it's only a couple of weeks ago that Enzo Maresca has what we all assumed has had a sort of cloaked criticism of the hierarchy there, saying it's his worst 48 hours ever, and things like that. You do feel everything's building, don't you? But what were the expectations, realistically, of Chelsea at the start of this season?
Top four, probably with what I would imagine discussions.
2 points off.
Exactly, and they're still involved in that. The discussions with the coach at the start of the season would have been, we need top four. We must have top four. When you trade in with players as often and as much as the frequency that Chelsea do, they need the finances, they need the money. They've got to do that. So yeah, look, it's always a tricky scenario, I think, particularly for some of the younger coaches. Can you imagine how many voices there are around Enzo Maresca at the Bridge right now in terms of do this, do that? Maybe you need to think about this. He's got sporting directors, technical directors there that will all be throwing their two bobs worth.
And should they be the ones, rather than us focusing on Enzo Maresca, should they be the ones that we're asking questions of? Should we be looking at their recruitment, for example?
Correct.
You know, Alessandro Garnacho has come in. Jamie Gittins' wingers have come in, who've not made a real impact.
Flaky, in and out. And
Liam Delap's not made an impact.
No, he hasn't. He's had injury problems. The accountability of sporting directors, I think, has always been a point because up to probably this period now, this era now, Jeff, I think for years they could select 3 or 4, 5, 6 different managers, technical directors, sporting directors. That's not the case now. I don't think that's the case now. I think when they identify managers and players now, they are really accountable for it. And again, if a manager goes, it won't be long before they make those changes as well. I just mentioned to you that Arne Slot actually has axed the set-piece coach because Liverpool's numbers from set plays have been poor. And all of a sudden someone's gone out the door. Wouldn't have happened a few years ago, that, but it's starting to be, and quite right. Listen, I think that's the way it should be, because a lot of times coaches don't actually buy the players that walk through the door. There's a lot of times you can tell by the way they talk about certain players. Remember Gus Poyet when he was up at Sunderland?
Yeah.
When he, famously said, "I don't buy the players. You're talking to the wrong person here. Someone else does that."
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that.
I'm sure that's certainly the case at Chelsea, isn't it? Enzo Maresca's not going out there and buying the players.
And sorting loan deals out either and everything. That's not what he does. He's got to just focus his mind on the...
So you're so reliant on other people's performances.
And I think when you're a younger coach, when you haven't got the mileage under your belt, that's when I think it can become particularly difficult. And I do feel Enzo's in the last phase.
By the way, sorry, Andy. Yeah. I don't know who the set-piece coach is at Chelsea, but he shouldn't look at the papers this morning reading about Liverpool because they conceded from 2 set plays again.
Did they?
Last night.
Yeah.
Both from Semenyo's.
I saw the long throw, a flick on at the near post, and then they're all sleeping at the back post. I saw that. Yeah. So
they both came from those long throws.
And I think now, listen, in football, there are people that are enjoying their moment as these added coaches in and around the first team. They have to be held accountable. They have to be, and so that's the nature of the beast. But Enzo needs some results, and he needs some pretty quickly, Jeff, if he's going to, if he's going to avoid the heat.
Yeah, completely agree. Jill's texted, says, a friend of mine, PE teacher, is now 64. He started a walking football group. The youngest is 56 and the oldest is 80. Time for you yet, Jeff. Thank you very much indeed for that, Jill. She says, come and join us in the North Sea. Yeah. I'll send my representative, Andy Townsend. Thanks, Jill. Let's take a look at the next hour of the show, shall we, with Benchmarks, part of the Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. Get trade prices on kitchens to suit all styles and budgets at Benchmarks.
And as it's New Year's Eve, we'll be celebrating some of the talkSPORT Breakfast highlight moments of the year. Who could forget this viral chat? Oh my goodness, this is brilliant. Between Alan Brazil and Ray Party Parlour all the way back in January.
Winning the war was unbelievable, wasn't it? The party they must have had when they won the war.
Yeah.
Because we all would have been German now, wouldn't we?
There's a lot more of it. It's absolutely
that was
priceless.
Magnificent, wasn't it?
History lessons with Ray Parlour.
Brilliant.
If there's anything that stood out for you, text to 81089 or send us a WhatsApp 03717223344 and we will try and dig it out. And that was our breakfast preview with Travis Perkins Hire.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. With 250 hire branches nationwide, it's easy to hire at Travis Perkins.
morning to you. This is talkSPORT Breakfast on New Year's Eve 2025. I was going to tell you how many hours we've got to go, but I can't work it out.
No.
It's 10 to 9, so maybe you can do it yourself. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me. Headlines this morning. Pressure ramping up on Wilfred Nancy as Celtic lost for the 5th time in 7 games under his management. 2-0 last night away at Motherwell. Rangers at home next for Celtic this Saturday. It's a 12:30 kickoff. Brennan Johnson set to decide whether he wants to join Crystal Palace after the club agreed a £35 million deal to sign the Tottenham attacker. Now, there are a few other clubs sniffing around as well.
Yes.
I would think. If you're Brennan Johnson, you'd want to move away, wouldn't you?
I think he's not been getting a game, and I don't know how loved he's been by the Tottenham faithful, because whenever I've been to Spurs and watched them, I feel Brennan's always kind of slightly up against it with the home support. He's obviously not played well enough at times. Of that, he's got to hold his hand up and accept that. And they've had some very good players in those wide positions in recent seasons.
Well, getting a goal though.
But he got that all important goal, didn't he, in the Europa League final? He got that, and that will always be treasured, certainly by him and by a lot of the Tottenham fans. But not a bad move for him, I think. He's a sort of spontaneous sort of player. Good runner, got lots of good energy. Maybe that sort of Palace setup, I could see him down there at Sellers. I could see that working for him.
Yeah, I quite like him. I think he'd be decent buy for them. I think Bournemouth are also interested. Look, let's chat Newcastle. They won 3-1 at Turf Moor last night. Goals from Joe Linton, Jan Wisser and Bruno Gamara secured the 3 points. After the game, Eddie Howe said he hopes the team can now kick on from here.
Yeah, we hope so. I think confidence is key, and I think that definitely the confidence levels of the players has taken a bit of a hit in recent weeks. So the only way to solve that is to win. Today we've won. We've just changed the mood. It's amazing what winning does, and we believe that we can go on a winning run. We have to now prove that. We have, I think, a really good squad. We've got players coming back to fitness, so I think there's a lot to be positive about. But I bang on about positives all the time. Winning is the only thing that makes the difference.
Second away win in 13 Premier League games, which is a bit scary, isn't it? But we talked about this yesterday, and I think we both expected that, or both thought it would be an idea to give Jan Wisser a start.
Correct.
Ahead of Nick Walter-Marda. And lo and behold, he scored within the first 10 minutes of him being on the field.
He definitely, Jeff, is going to add a different dimension to the way that they attack. He is direct. He only wants the ball played in behind, really, Jan Wisser. He's not the sort of guy you'd want dropping in short and trying to get involved in that respect. He wants to stretch teams. He wants to run. He's urging you to find him as early as you possibly can. That's when he's at his absolute best. With the pace they have in other areas, I think that's potentially an exciting way forward for them. I like Walter-Marda. I think he's done well since he's arrived, and you can see he's got his own qualities. But just a rampaging, rampant Newcastle at their best. I just see pace everywhere up front, and I think he gives them that.
Well, look, joining us now for more is the former Newcastle United midfielder Lee Clark. Morning, Lee.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Andy.
Morning, Lee.
How are you guys?
Yeah, we're fine. Look, it was an important win for Newcastle. What did you make of the performance?
Great start. Like you said, it was an important win. Well, we have form as being very poor, but it was a strong performance. I agree with Andy. This makes a massive difference to the team. Gives you the option of playing in behind. We can stretch teams. We can play on the counter. It's reminiscent of what we were last season when Vissa's in the team. So gives us another outlet. So a good away performance, any away win in the Premier League, especially with our form at the moment. But so we're delighted with that.
Yeah, I think, Lee, as I was just saying there to Jeff, when I look at that Newcastle side and the personnel that you've got, I can see that boding well with Jan Wisser up front. Another player I just want to talk about, Malik Tiao. How well's he done at the back for you?
What a player!
Yeah.
What a signing!
It's been good, hasn't he?
Another outstanding signing by Eddie Howe and his recruitment team. He's been absolutely brilliant, and didn't cost a lot of money in today's market either. So he's been brilliant. And just another player who's been outstanding for us.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it was important from a Newcastle perspective that they got the win. They turned the clock back a little bit to do it, didn't they? Because Joe Linton not had a great season so far. I think everyone would tell you that. He would say it himself in all probability. He started, and Nick Pope was back in goal. Now, was that statement that Nick Pope is the number one goalkeeper above Aaron Ramsdale at Newcastle?
I think it is, Jeff, yeah. I think as soon as he's been fit and he's got back in, the manager's put him back in the team and showing his faith in him. So I think that is a statement to say, you're my number one goalkeeper. He has made some mistakes, Nick Pope, but I think he's been, overall, he's been outstanding since he's been at the football club. What I would say is going back to old school, he's a goalkeeper. He stops things going in. People talk about, he's not so good with his feet, but I don't want Glenn Hoddle in my goal. I want someone who's going to stop the ball going in the net. That's what I want.
Good shout.
I'll have Glenn Hoddle in my central midfield, but I'm not bothered about having him in my goal.
No, very true, mate. Very true. What's got to improve, Clarkie, for you, for Newcastle now to kick on and threaten the top six? What have they got to find?
Away form, Andy. That's the key. The home form is outstanding. In every competition at home, we've been brilliant. We've got some great results. We've competed with the big boys, the Man Cities and Chelseas and etc. In the Champions League, we've been great. Just the away form, got to get some consistency. If we can get that sorted, and hopefully that gives the lads confidence after last night, we can be fine. I mean, listen, it's not all doom and gloom. We're still in all competitions. We're in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup again, and I think what's happened is we've been victim of our own success this season, and because we've done so well over the previous seasons, just because our league position hasn't been great this year, because of our away form, it's causing one or two little murmurs, and it shouldn't be like that. There can still be a successful season. We can still get into the European places. As I said, we're doing fine in the Champions League. We're in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. We've got the FA Cup to look forward to, even though it's a tough tie at home to Bournemouth. Let's just move forward. And we've got a manager who's done something that nobody's done in over 70 years. He's won a trophy, and he can do it again, and he can be successful for us. So I'm in the positive side of the camp, me, to be honest.
I thought you were going to say glass half full, and it'll certainly be glass half full tonight, won't it, Lee? I know what the North East like on New Year's Eve.
It mightn't be half full for that long, Jeff, to be honest.
Brilliant, Lee. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks,
mate.
Lee.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Just what we talked about Newcastle. I mean, they won at Burnley last night. A lot of questions have been asked about Scott Parker. 6 points off safety. They created a load of chances last night. They played really well in patches. Is Scott Parker almost suffering because, those in the hierarchy of Burnley, in all probability, and certainly the fans, are looking at Leeds United and Sunderland and saying, well, look where they are.
Yeah, that obviously happens. Last year, in getting into the Premier League, they had that incredible defensive record, didn't they? And why would you veer away from that? Something that's been so good in the Championship. Their defensive record was astonishing, and so why would you just abandon that in order to think we need to try and score a few more goals? No, you've got to try and hang on to that, and they found it difficult scoring the goals, Jeff. Situations from box to box. They're very good to watch. They look like they can create chances, but they just don't have that added little bit of stardust at the top of the pitch that can make the difference. And that is what's probably really frustrating, Scott, because after games, he'll use his eyes to judge what he sees, of course, and he'll tell his players what he's just seen is good enough. Then he looks at the numbers to back it up and he thinks, well, we are creating chances. We are having plenty of the ball. We are doing things in the right way, but we're just not winning enough games. So you can only hope, I think, in his situation, you can only hope that that you stitch a couple of back-to-back victories together, and it just might propel them into a little into a little moment where they feel they can get a bit of confidence and get out of it, because it's so tough when you're just on the wrong side of games, especially when you're not playing that bad, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, look seriously, last night, I mean, obviously Newcastle's third goal came in like the 94th, 95th minute. It was 2-1, and Burnley hit the woodwork. They'd missed chances. They'd had shots cleared off. I just hope that they stick with Scotty Parker.
I do too.
For the time being, at least. Couple of texts. Patrick says, big shout out to all 8,500 Southend supporters, and indeed all those in the National League who turn up week in, week out. In fact, Southend have been getting 8,800 for some games at Route 12. Absolutely phenomenal. And Ian says, morning Jeff, morning Andy, happy New Year to both of you. Love the show, listen every day. Last year wasn't so good for me, he said, but I'm back on track and talkSPORT has helped me throughout the year. He said, P.S. Jeff, there are 15 hours to go till 2026. So, Ian, thank you very much for that. That's Ian in sunny Southport, up the port. He says it's just after 9. Up next, we'll take a deeper dive into West Ham and just how timely Jarrod Bowen's return to the score sheet is.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend, even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. They'd been introduced not for leg protection, but instead to give batters a strategic advantage. The idea was that batters could put their leg pads in front of the wicket if they missed the ball, preventing them from being bowled out. Obviously, that all changed when the LBW rule came in, but that was the theory behind them. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Very good morning to you. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with me, Jeff Stelling, Andy Townsend and Arnold Clark's Real Sale. Huge savings to be had on over 20,000 used cars. We used to do a few birthdays on this show, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Good ones.
Some good ones today. Sir Anthony Hopkins, 88.
Wow.
88, Dr. Lecter. Good in that, wasn't he?
What's an actor?
What he's a brilliant actor. Sir Ben Kingsley, 82.
Yeah.
Of course, Sir Alex, we spoke earlier, Sir Alex Ferguson, 84 today. And the Police guitarist, Andy Summers, is 83.
83.
Now, I never even thought he was in the same ballpark as Sir Alex Ferguson.
No, you wouldn't have imagined, would you?
Would you?
No.
No, you wouldn't. But he's 83 today, so happy birthday to
were you
all those guys.
Police fan?
Yes, like the Police. Do like the Police, and a lot of their stuff was very, very good, and they were massive, weren't they, Jeff?
Oh, unbelievable!
Huge, weren't they?
And then Sting became huge as a solo
correct.
artist.
And what a voice Sting's got! Yeah, what a voice! Even today, he's still got an outstanding voice. Yeah.
Donna Summer, remember her? I feel love to love you, baby. She would have been 77 today. She died when she was 63.
Who's that, Jeff? Sorry,
Donna Summer.
Donna Summer, yeah, wonderful.
And it might not be. If you're a bit of a heavy metal kid, a bit of a headbanger, it might not be your cup of tea, but John Denver would have been 82 today. Annie's Song and Taking Home Country Roads and all that sort of stuff. Tragically, he was killed when he was in his a plane crash. He was actually piloting his own plane at the time, and was killed when he was just 53.
Yeah, and Gangnam, the Gangnam style. Yeah. Now, is that? I mean, look, is that Psy, I presume? PSY. Psy, is it? Yeah, it is Psy. He's 48 as well, Jeff, by the way.
48?
48 years. And I've seen a couple, I mean, look, wouldn't have a clue, really, about too many of his songs, apart from that one. But I've seen him on stage and literally he's on this, platform, and it, shoots him up through the floor, and he comes out literally about 10 foot up in the air, lands on, and everyone's going absolutely bonkers, and he starts going into that routine. But he's 48 today.
Brilliant. Right, big night of Premier League action last night, wasn't it? Let's take a look back at some of it. Here's how it sounded for you live on the talkSPORT network.
Burnley 1, Newcastle 3 with Bruno Guimaraes for the 6th goal of the season. It came from a blunder from Dubravka though.
Nottingham Forest 0, Everton 2, Tierno Barry's first goal of the season.
West Ham 2, Brighton 2, West Ham twice led through Jared Bowen. West Ham 4 points from safety, go to Wolves on Saturday.
Goal for Bournemouth, they take it back to 2-2. I think it's Cliver who's touched it in at the far post.
Back in from Krejci, and it's 1-1. They deserve it. Wolves level. Boos emanate around Old Trafford.
You know what? It's turning into one of those classic talkSPORT nights.
Jesus edge of the air, right footed shot. Oh, brilliant!
Curls it past the goalkeeper and into the corner of the net. Back from injury, back to fire Arsenal to the top of the Premier League. This is a statement win by the champions-elect.
And the ultimate insults, Arsenal fans, to Aston Villa tonight. Are you Tottenham in disguise? Villa's winning run ended in brutal fashion by Arteta's Arsenal.
Yeah, really interesting night, wasn't it? We talked about Chelsea in that 2-2 draw against Bournemouth, and Manchester United's 1-1 draw at home to Wolves depleted Manchester United. I thought Wolves actually might well have nicked all of the points, and of course we focused this morning on Arsenal's big win over Aston Villa, but Everton have also won at Nottingham Forest, so they're up to 8th in the table, and that's depleted Everton as well. And we talk about West Ham now, Andy, 3-1 on to be relegated. But I'll tell you what, they picked up a point last night. Not enough by any means. And Nuno's under clear pressure. But the next 2 games could change all that.
Of course
Wolves
it could.
away, Nottingham Forest at home. If, and I accept it's a big if they win them both, there won't be 3-1 on to go down anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. They'll be out the bottom 3, and all of a sudden, all the talk and the focus will be around somebody else. Next game against Wolves, for West Ham. Is that at Molineux?
It's at Molineux.
Oh, I mean that is so big that game, because Wolves have been gaining without gaining the points they want. They have been gaining a little bit of momentum. The spirit in their camp, I think you can see, is still good. And Rob Edwards will be encouraged in many other ways, what he's been witnessing a little bit of just of late. For West Ham to go there and get beat, then all of a sudden I think there's going to be massive ramifications for defeat in that one. There really will be. I again, whether it's Nuno or whether it's, I don't know, whatever, but I just can't even imagine what's going to go through the Hammers fans if they go at Wolves and get done.
Yeah, well, after the game last night, Nuno was asked if those next 2 games are must-wins.
All the games are important. It's not the must-win game. Is if you look today, we draw. It's a point. If we can compete well and perform well, this can be a good point. So, it's going to be special games for me. But like you said, really important matches.
The worry, and again, things could change. 2 wins in those 2 games, and West Ham have given themselves a real chance of staying up. There's no question of that. My concern is that they can't keep clean sheets, Andy, and they do not even look like keeping a clean sheet.
No, that is always an issue, and for years, anyone who's taken a job at the bottom end of the table, first priority is always, come on, guys, we've got to make sure we're harder to beat. We've got to be
and that's
difficult.
Nuno's speciality.
Well, yes, I agree with that. Certainly his Forest team, though, had that attacking threat. They had that counter-attack. They had that energy and legs in their team that made them really exciting to watch. And then they had Murillo and Milenkovic, who are also really tough, uncompromising central defenders. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that, West Ham. He's got. I mean, Max Kilman, when he left Wolves, I always thought he would go on to be a decent player. He looks a bit heavy to me, Max. He was a very big man. Whether it's Mavropanos or whoever else, Todibo playing alongside him, they got ricks in them, mistakes in them, basic errors, and it's very difficult sometimes to get that out of players. It's I tell you what, you find most centre halves down the years that if they are making basic errors and poor errors of judgment at 21, Jeff, they're still doing it at 30.
Yeah.
they just have it in them. Some guys just seem to have it in them where they make poor decisions and are always in and around goals that are going in the back of your net. And some guys are like that. West Ham have got a few of those. You can't really trust them and rely on them. So it's difficult. It's difficult. They've got some talent in forward areas. I think people like Lucas Paqueta is a talent, but also he strolls around in games sometimes, I think, and doesn't do anywhere near enough. Jarrod Bowen, there's so much resting on his shoulders. Really is, because he is a good player and he will run and chase everything. But they're right up against it, West Ham. I don't see a tremendous amount in that team.
I think that, the errors in the back four, they're affecting the goalkeepers as well. I mean, they brought in somebody to replace Areola in Hermansen.
Yeah.
He can't get a game. And now Areola's game is also suffering, like most goalkeepers, he's prone to errors. So if you are David Sullivan, Karen Brady and the such like, what do you do in January?
Well, they have to back him. They have to support him. They have to be having the conversations now. If they're not having those conversations with Nuno now about what the plans are for moving forward, and by the way, he won't have. He'd like to think he's got final say on who comes and who goes. I wonder if that really goes on at football clubs as much nowadays, whether a manager absolutely says no one comes through the door unless I nod my head. I think there are very few managers that are going to be in a position to be able to have that sort of strength. And I don't think Nuno's in that camp. But you would like to think that they are going to be saying to him, we are actively out there. We are close to maybe doing this one, that one. We are going to bring you in some players. And then Nuno, once they do come through the door, he has to knit it together and make it look like it's going to work. At the moment, every time West Ham have a reasonable performance, get a decent result, it's followed by something that's so off the pace that leaves you all scratching your head.
Yeah.
And that's a worry. That's a concern. It's a massive concern for him. I don't think, a lot of people have said he's a defensive coach. I don't think Nuno is a defensive coach personally, Jeff. I don't. I just think with the players he's got, he's not able to attack in the fashion that he did at Nottingham Forest. His Wolves team was a really good attack-minded team. He had people like, remember Craig Dawson at the back and people like that, those sort of centre halves that would stick their head, put their head on things and sense danger and try and get rid of it and deal with it. But defensively at the moment, West Ham, they concede terrible goals. Yeah, it's horrible.
They do. And Green of the Postie has just stirred the pot. He says, morning lads, you're on about West Ham strengthening. What if a top six club came in for Jarrod Bowen? Would he go? That would be a disaster for them. Green, I'll give those West Ham fans your address, mate. Be careful.
Well, listen, that most certainly can't happen. I don't mean that there wouldn't be people looking at Jarrod Bowen, because of course there would be, but that's not anything they could even entertain, not at all.
Steve the Hammer has just texted, all in block capitals, bank a home win on Saturday for Wolves. Millwall, here we come. We'll be talking darts shortly after our good mate Justin Hood romped through to the quarterfinals of the World Darts Championships.
26k for 2026 on talkSPORT.
Good morning. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me, and talkSPORT is promising you the possibility of a perfect start to 2026.
Yes, indeed.
For someone.
talkSPORT is already looking ahead to an exciting year 2026 will bring, and we're giving you the chance to win a massive £26,000. Wow, what better way to kick off 2026 than with some serious cash? Yep, 26 grand. It's our biggest New Year cash giveaway, and it could be yours. It's 26k for 2026. Here's how to enter.
Yeah, for your chance to win, just text the word WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can call 0343 423 9761. Lines close at 12 p.m. on the 9th of January. That is when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. UK residents only, 18 plus. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com/win. So a reminder, your chance to win, just text that word WIN, W-I-N, to 83338. And do it now. Best of luck to you.
Best of luck, yeah.
Just before we move on to the darts, Roy, who's a not-so-happy hammer in painting, says, morning, Jeff and Andy. Reference Sullivan and Brady buying decent players to move out of the relegation zone. Just think back to how they were at Birmingham. We went after the top defenders, Tom, Dick and Harry, and a couple of Brazilian superstar forwards, but they all signed for other clubs. So obviously, if you're a hammer, you're desperately hoping that is not going to happen. Let's talk darts, shall we?
Okay.
It's been a fascinating World Championship so far, hasn't it? And talk about turning the clock back. Gary Anderson enjoyed his best result for 5 years. So he's the 2018 World Champion as he beat Michael van Gerwen for a place in the quarterfinals. Here's how the moment sounded live on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel.
9 for double 8 for Anderson to win a cracker, and Gary Anderson does win a cracker. Average fell just under a ton in the end, but that was a magical performance from the Flying Scotsman. Michael van Gerwen's wait for a fourth world title will go on at least 12 more months. But for Gary Anderson, he's a man in form. He is flying, and he's through to face his friend Justin Hood in the last 8 on New Year's Day.
Yeah, well, he lost in round 2 last year. Wasn't really seen as a contender this year, but it's interesting how some of the players, you've got both ends of the scale. The young men like Luke Littler, obviously, and then you've got the Gary Andersons, 55 years of age. John Clayton, he's 51 now, and he's through to the last 8 as well. He's got every chance to reach the semi-finals. He plays Ryan Searle as well. Another one who quit his job, by the way, quit his job as a plasterer 2 or 3 years ago now. But it's interesting that these guys can still do it at that age.
It is. Actually, Gary Anderson says, I was rotten and Michael was rotten, meaning the way that they actually played. He said, I knew Michael can miss a few doubles, but not that many, so I pinched it, happy to get through.
Well, I think the issue for Gary Anderson's going to be, because he plays Justin Hood now, is double percentage, successful doubles, was 38%, which is pretty woeful. Justin Hood's was 75% as he demolished the world number 11 Josh Rock 4-0. Here's Justin on yesterday's show talking about the possibility of winning the World Championship.
I back myself to win everything. Obviously, it doesn't work like that. Everyone up here is world class, but I just got to keep doing what I'm doing and that, and I'll take it all in my stride. Won't change who I am. And it's fun up there on that stage. Got everyone chanting for you, and that is amazing experience.
Yeah. Brilliant. Do you know, Gary Anderson has said Justin has battered me in the past.
Yeah.
Right? He's a cracking player.
Got a great chance at the semis.
And he does have a great opportunity.
You know how good that performance was from Justin Hood? There's a big sports bar just outside talkSPORT Towers called the Redwood, and it's got TV screens outside. Now, while Justin was playing yesterday afternoon, it was freezing. Icy cold.
It was cold in London
outside. Yeah. And yet the big TV screens outside were surrounded by people who weren't drinking.
No.
They just they were just been passing, and they saw Justin Hood, and they saw what he was doing, and they saw what he was doing on his doubles. Hit his first 11 doubles. It was unimaginable.
Yeah.
And they were just absolutely mesmerised by it.
Do you know, Jeff, when you say that about hitting the doubles, right? Of course, look, for top darts players, of course they've got to do that. Can you imagine what it must feel like for those guys when, for whatever reason, they step up and they cannot hit those doubles? And they've all got doubles that they favour. You know, they've all got, whether it's tops or whether it's double 16 or whatever, usually they've got something that they totally rely on. Can you imagine what it's like for those guys when they can't hit one?
Well, just in there, he's nailed his first 11 doubles. And then he had 4 darts at doubles for the match, and he missed them all. Yeah. But thankfully, he got a chance to come back again, and this time he did nail the double. But yeah, I mean, John McDonnell was on Monday Morning Breakfast, the MC, and he was saying he had a feeling that this year there could be a big outsider, a new name, win the world title. And okay,
just wonder. Yeah.
Justin, I think we said from Steve Owen, it was 16-1. Be a brave man who would take on Luke Littler, you know. And if he gets through to the semi-finals, he'll probably be playing Luke Humphreys. So it's a tough old task, but he won't be fazed by it.
No, he was 1,000-1 shot at the start of the tournament.
Yeah,
Justin. You know, so, and again, for him to, and it makes him a dangerous opponent now, where he's kind of in uncharted waters and he's just enjoying the moment. All the pressure, all the expectation is on other people. He's just rocking up and just doing what he does. He's got that lovely manner and attitude about him. So Gary Anderson's already said how good a player he is. So he knows he's going to have to up his game, probably even from the levels that he when he beat MVG. Yeah.
Look, it's one of the highlights of the sporting year, isn't it? It always is, and this year hasn't disappointed. I've got a text here from a West Ham fan. It says, nice to see young Potts play well for West Ham last night. Transfer rumours are that West Ham are after the Swindon youngster, Stephen Pans. Let's hope the Hammers sign him and we have a midfield of Potts and Pans. I can't believe that's true. Yeah. We're brilliant though, wouldn't it?
Wow.
It did. Fantastic.
Hey, look, they do need something coming through the door, Jeff, don't they? West Ham, they do. They need something just to give everybody a little bit of a lift. Every now and again, you know, it might be a player. It might be a player that is past his best. It might be something that perhaps one or two, but something with a bit of class and a bit of quality. Something that you know on any given day they can produce a bit of something special. I think there's nothing wrong with those sort of players if they're going to short term and they're going to fire up one or two around you. Surely the powers that be at West Ham can look for one or two like that. Not every signing you make has got to be something that you buy for 10 and sell for 20.
Yeah.
Not got to be like that. They've got to find something in there now that just might inspire Jarrod Bowen a little bit more, get him going again, and one or two others. And there are people out there like that, but you've got to be brave enough to go and get them.
Yeah. Might need more than one or two others, Andy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the bench the other night. Anyway, as far as the darts are concerned, look, quarterfinals and semi-finals are my favourite rounds.
Yes.
Even ahead of the final. Always full of drama. Can't wait for them. Up next, we'll bring you a selection of our talkSPORT breakfast moments of the year. Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with Donald Clark. Save on your next car in the real sale. It's the UK's biggest used car sale. We were talking darts in the World Championship.
We were.
And Andy asked me a moment or two ago if I'd known Sid Waddell.
Yes.
And I worked with Sid for donkeys years, and he was a genius.
Yes.
Just a genius. And I was trying to recall some of his great quotes, and I've just looked up some of them. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant. So on winning, this is Sid. I can't do it in Sid's inimitable voice as it was. There'll never be another Sid Waddell. He's as happy as a hound dog who's won a year's supply of Bonio. If we'd had Phil Taylor at Hastings against the Normans, they'd have gone home. Which is, on losing, he looks about as happy as a penguin in a microwave. On feeling the pressure, he's perspiring like a pudding in a pot. His eyes are bulging like the belly of a hungry chaffinch. Or my favourite one, on Silence in the Hall. The atmosphere is so tense. If Elvis walked in with a portion of chips, you could hear the vinegar sizzle on them. And Sid was brilliant because...
Brilliant, that is amazing, some of them.
And they were all ad-lib. They weren't planned in advance, nothing like that.
No.
He was a genius of the commentary world. You know, and he worked with John Gwynn and Dave Lanning as well. And what a trio they were. You know, with all due respect to those who do it now, who are also brilliant, by the way.
Correct.
You know, they were an unmatched... Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
They were unmatched.
I remember Dave Lanning. Jeff used to work on... He do the darts on ITV for many years. I do remember that. And in that era, and those... I mentioned John McCririck, you know, with the racing. He was such a character, wasn't he? And synonymous with the sport. And Sid, absolutely like that, was
there are hundreds
brilliant.
and hundreds and hundreds of examples, by the way, as
yes.
well. Somebody texted in a moment or two ago, Raheem Sterling for West Ham.
Well, look, now Raheem, I mean, God knows what he's even doing nowadays. I mean, all this talk about, does he literally have to just rock up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening for an hour on his own? If that's the case, I mean, that's dreadful. You'd have to get out of that scenario. And look, there's a lot of money at stake for him personally. The club want him out the door. That's well known, well documented. Now, you know, when Raheem went to Arsenal, he couldn't really find anything like what was even close to his best. Could someone like Raheem Sterling go into West Ham and give them another dimension, give them something else?
A little boost, I think, you know. Steve the Hammer suggested it, by the way.
Yeah, what we've seen from Raheem at Arsenal, you would say no in a struggling team. But, Jeff, it's that sort of thing. That's what I mean. Something like that just might work. I think you're better off doing that than going bringing in someone that someone has never played Premier League football, someone doesn't really know what it's all about here, and keeping your fingers crossed, hoping that they're going to get up to speed. You could get Raheem Sterling. Yes, he's going to cost a lot in wages, but there might be some mileage in something like that, yeah.
Well, it might cost a lot in wages. Think of the cost of getting relegated.
Good point.
Right, quickly, some boxing to bring to your attention, courtesy of our good friends at DAZN. This Saturday, Amanda Serrano defends her WBO and WBA featherweight titles against Reina Teles in a championship fight, which comes to you from Puerto Rico. So you can watch it live this Saturday, only on DAZN.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Right, let's take a little look back on what's been an incredible year for talkSPORT Breakfast. So many special moments. We're going to reminisce about some of them. Starting with the time Weekend Breakfast host your former Republic of Ireland teammate, Tony Cascarino, joined our summer quiz, and he had real trouble trying to spell his co-host's name. Please spell the name of someone we know and love here at talkSPORT, Shaban Ahern.
Oh, Cass.
No. It's the Christian name and the surname, Cass.
Well, Hearn, I'll pretty much do that. Shaban, I always S-H-A-B-E-R-N.
I think a couple of those letters were right, but only a couple.
Oh, it's not. Is it with an I?
No. Look, just go with Shaban again.
Shaban. Well, I always thought.
Yeah.
I always thought Shaban was S-H-A-N-B. No, I'm gone,
Okay.
Jeff.
Right, Shaban. Shaban Ahern.
Well, it's O-H-E-R-N, isn't it?
Oh,
It's not Hearn as in Barry Hearn.
No. Brilliant.
Oh, I love that tone.
Yeah.
Oh, what is he like? Oh, dear. Brilliant.
He never claimed that spelling was his strong point. Football and poker, they're his strong points. Next up, Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy came off the subs bench to stand in for Alan and Ray one Friday in May, just before the Oasis reunion tour. Noel Gallagher joined the show with a fundamental question for Oasis superfan Jamie O'Hara in exchange for a ticket for the first Wembley gig.
What is an actual Wonderwall?
Oh, my God.
Come on, Jay.
What do you mean, come on?
Come on, mate.
Come on, Jay. It's like one of the most famous songs in the world.
I know it's famous, but...
What is it?
It's a wall, isn't it?
Yeah. I haven't a clue.
Nor have I.
Wonderwall.
What's
I've
a
got
Wonderwall?
No idea. I'm sure, and we probably were provided with the answer.
Correct.
By Noel, but
it's a wall, isn't it?
It's a wall, yeah. Well, in fairness, he's probably halfway there. But look, if you're looking back for the highlight of the entire year, there's only one winner. It's a whole new way to learn your history. Alan Brazil and Ray Parlour discussing World War II right back in January.
Winning the war was unbelievable, wasn't it? The party they must have had when they won the war.
Yeah.
Because we all would have been German now, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So that was an historical moment. Winston Churchill, what he did. And then them to surrender, Germans, was an amazing for British, really.
Scary, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But no, that was a great trip. But I just if you look back at those programmes about the war, and he's a little bit blasé, wasn't he, Winston Churchill? He went for things, and we think, well,
he loved a bevy, didn't he?
Well, obviously the cigars, and you've been to the rooms in down in Westminster.
No.
Really interesting.
Well, I've
done a thing down there.
Ray, there's a pal of mine used to run Ned.
Yeah.
There's a new private members club down there. He's in there.
Oh, is it?
I forget what it's called.
But it's really interesting to see
the war rooms.
How it all worked back in the day. And I'm intrigued by that. And it could have gone either way, but it was unbelievable how they took chances and it come out on top.
That is the best line of the year, isn't it?
Could have gone either way, but they took their
way.
chances and came out on top.
The only thing Ray never said was the boy Hitler.
Yeah.
That's all if he'd have thrown that in as well, I think, oh, wonderful.
The listeners joined in as well. Somebody texted the next day and said, yeah, Germany's always a tough place to go.
That was great, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. And Winston Churchill, I tell you what, he would have loved the fact he was remembered in Alan's word for loving a bevy.
Loving a bevy.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh, dear, that was classic. I loved that. I remember at the time when I heard it, I think I was in my car and I nearly put it in a ditch. Honestly, I was killing myself laughing. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It was one of the best things ever. Paul has texted in and said, did Jeff and Andy talk about Sid Waddell? You've missed the best one ever. He said, there's only one word for that. Magic darts.
Magic darts. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, remember that.
Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Brilliant. Chris said, about Tony Cascarino's spelling, he said, all the right letters, just in the wrong order. Jill says, talking of boxing, can we send our thoughts to Anthony Joshua, who survived that serious car crash that killed his two friends in Nigeria? Absolutely, Jill. We certainly will do that. Up next, we'll take a look ahead to the year 2026. Good morning, 9:48. Of course, it's New Year's Eve, Wednesday, December the 31st. This is TalkSport Breakfast. I'm just Stelling. Andy Townsend is with me. Don't forget to check out, by the way, the latest TalkSport Daily podcast, where Ollie Klink and Sam Matterface hand out their own unique awards for 2025, including TalkSport's Commentary Moment of the Year, Best Atmosphere, Manager of the Year, Players of the Year, and even the TalkSport Peace Award. If people can do it, why can't we? This was Sam explaining his men's player of 2025.
Manchester City had a bit of an off-season last season. Erling Haaland started this year brilliantly, 35 goals in 27 games for club and country at the time of recording. I've got to say that he has been terrific in the first 6 months of this season. And that includes for Norway as well, by the way. I think, look at some of the performances he's put in there, terrific. But I think despite persistent injury, if you win 2 trophies for your club and you are the star of both shows, you're probably the men's player of the year. So the men's player of the year is Cole Palmer.
Well, that's an interesting call. What do you make of that?
Very influential when he's been at his best for Chelsea last year. Cole Palmer, I think, was outstanding. Some of his performances, absolutely outstanding. He makes the game look ridiculously easy. I haven't thought enough about it, Jeff, in terms of who that individual would be. Obviously, Sam watches a lot of Chelsea, and that's a team close to his heart. So,
will Cole Palmer go to the World Cup, and will he play in the World Cup?
That's a very, very good question, because that position, if we're assuming Cole Palmer will be given license to be a 10 in a Thomas Tuchel team, that is a position that there are some pretty tasty players in and around it. You've got Foden, you've got Bellingham, you've got Morgan Rogers, who's kind of emerged this season and now has emerged as a Tuchel potential favourite. So there's a lot happening in and around that spot. And I don't think, I've said this before, Jeff, I don't think Tuchel will pander, and I don't think he'll shoehorn people in. I generally don't think that's what he's about. I think he will make a call and he'll go for it. And then if that doesn't work, if that player's not performing in game one, if he's off the pace, he'll be out the team, and he'll put someone else in for the next one. And I think that's the way he's operated, and he's worked with big players, Thomas Tuchel, at the clubs he's been at. And I think he'll be the same for England. But that's a big call which one he plays.
It is,
What would you do? If all of them were at their best?
If they're all at their best, well, probably Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
But I think Morgan Rogers has been fabulous this season. Cole, I love Cole Palmer, and he was brilliant in that Club World Championship as well. But he hasn't been at his best so far this season. Obviously, injuries affected him. And Phil Foden, who last season, I was thinking may not make the squad. Now, the way he's playing, if he maintains that, fantastic.
And I think Tuchel, whilst he will have his own ideas today about the next England game, whoever that is, whenever that may be, come the summer, there's a lot of football to be played between now and then. There will be players getting injured. There will be people going out of form, Jeff. There will be some that are so red hot, playing so well that it's difficult to ignore them and not play them. So the ball is very much in Tuchel's court, and for those guys that are all vying to be in that starting 11, because that's the thing. Going to a World Cup is one thing. Being in the starting 11, that's where you've got to be.
Yeah.
That's where you really want to operate.
So, talking of the World Cup, obviously it's the highlight of next year in footballing. In terms of I know you're going out there, Andy.
Yeah, I'll be out there. Yep.
48 teams.
Yes, different, isn't it? Different, and because it's
too big.
Again, it's going to be a huge 6 weeks. Best part of 6 weeks, and because it's in the US as well as Mexico and Canada, with the time zones, etc. I remember playing in '94, and we were waking up. We might have played a game, and then you're waking up the next day and hearing the result of another game, as opposed to in 1990 in Italy. If you weren't playing in your own match, you were watching every night. You were watching every game on the box, or as much as you could possibly watch. That's not always the case, and you can't do that when it's played in the States. So it's going to be very different. I do think 48 is potentially too many. We'll see how how it all pans out. What we don't want in some of those opening games is we don't really want to see 5s and 6-0s. I hope we don't get them too often. You want World Cup finals to be very competitive and teams in there to be to have a genuine shot at trying to qualify out their groups. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
And I get that, and I get you want to expand the game. And
yes.
You want to give, nations that have never played in World Cup finals the chance. But for me, the problem is that it's actually almost more difficult to go out in the first stage than it will be to get to the next phase, because the top 2 in each group go through, each of the 12 groups, and then the next best 8 also go through to the next phase. So it's really difficult to go out.
Yes, it is. It is, and you would fully expect that, of course, the best teams to comfortably qualify. What makes football so watchable, I think, for World Cups is the jeopardy that there's normally in those sort of matches. It's what, remember when Senegal turned up and beat France?
Yeah, the opening game, wasn't it?
It was the opening game.
Incredible.
And I remember thinking, wow, the French team was so good. I think they just won it. And then all of a sudden, they're on the receiving end of that. So it can happen. But it's less likely to happen maybe with the amount of teams that are going to be involved next summer. It's going to be different. We've had Club World Championships has now played out in the States, and we saw how that went, how difficult it can be because of the conditions, the heat. But it's going to be exciting, Jeff. The build up to it, I'm seriously hoping, got my fingers crossed for Ireland that they can beat the Czech Republic, and then maybe possibly even then dream of going there themselves along with England and the Scots. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but there's a lot of football to be played between now and then. A lot of jostling for positions. Some will go. Some today that are absolute certainties won't go through an injury or something like that. It just happens. It's tough to take, but there's a lot to look forward to in 2026.
I mean, obviously, we're hoping the Welsh you can get
course.
there, but English arrogance, will tell us that we believe we can win it.
Yeah.
Do you think we can?
I think England can win it. I think much will depend, not so much on the players. I think it depends on Tuchel. I think it's him. I think he has the tools at his disposal. Now he's got to manage it, and I think he'll be a little bit more ruthless, a lot more ruthless than maybe Gareth and some other previous managers. I don't think he'll mess around. I think he'll demand, and if he doesn't get, he'll change it, and that may be what England need. That might be what they need to do.
You do just wonder, don't you? Whether the conditions of same for everybody, whether the conditions will favour the South American sides more than it will do the European.
You would think so.
But perhaps Chelsea showed the way.
Yeah. Well, that's right. No. That's very true. But you would imagine, certainly. I'm looking for. I don't know how good right now. I don't know how good a Brazilian team is. Jeff,
well, hasn't been too.
Hasn't been great, has it?
That way, it hasn't been too.
It hasn't been great. Argentina obviously going in as resident champs.
And a massive,
champions.
always a massive.
Always going to be a massive threat. You would imagine Messi's swan song now. This one's going to be the French team. The French have got some incredibly talented players. Can they knit it together and put it together? If they do, they're going to be in there with a shout. But England do have a fabulous squad of players, and I think their fate is not so much worrying about the form of the players, it's how Tuchel handles them.
Mike, I'm going to leave the last word, or pretty much the last word, to you. Morning, Jeff. Here's an idea. What about scratch the 48-team World Cup and do an FA Cup style 200-team tournament? You lose, you're out. Upsets galore, logistically impossible, but it would be amazing viewing. Oh, Mike, it's a brilliant idea. You're absolutely spot on.
Good catch on, Mike.
Fantastic. And that would be jeopardy.
Yeah.
That's for sure in
Wouldn't
every
it just?
single game. So, Andy, got your Dickie bow at the ready, have you?
Well, look, no doubt my missus will be pressing my shirt, Jeff, but unfortunately, I don't think the Dickie bow is getting a run out tonight. Not for me, Clive.
Not for you, Clive, yeah. No. If Andy's out and about in the Cotswolds this evening, he'll be looking out for any mooning that's going on there as well. Look, love your company this morning. Have a great night.
Great stuff, Jeff. Happy New Year, pal.
26, Andy. Yeah, fantastic. talkSPORT Breakfast is back tomorrow morning. at the later time of 8 a.m. Now, who on earth would want to present that? Jamie O'Hara and Dean Saunders are in the saddle. Don't go anywhere. Up next, it's Sam Mattersface and Alex Crook. Happy New Year to everyone, everywhere.